Greetings and salutations, people, and welcome to the ALEuminati. We are back once again. I think it's about our third week back now.
I can't count. What's
So hopefully you've been listening to what we said in our previous episodes and told at least 2 of your friends. So there should be more people watching this.
Definitely 4. We've done The Simpsons, Paul McCartney, and last week's Hitler.
Yep. So this is our 4th one this week.
Yeah.
Sorry, my apologies. Flies when you're having fun. So we're going. We started off quite light with McCartney and Simpsons.
Yeah.
Went a bit like.
Balls deep last week.
Bit ballsy like we kind of shook up the Google Analytics by putting Hitler in there.
Yeah. That sounds interesting.
So this week I think we're going. Like I say, we're going classical.
It's still quite light though.
It's still quite like it's a classical theory this week.
Yeah, it is. So.
And as you probably tell, I don't mind being cryptic because it's in the fucking title. But yeah, this week is the Earth hollow.
Do I answer now or at the end? Because if we answer now, it's over.
No, but as always, we'll go through the theory. We'll go through the evidence. We'll dissect it and discuss it, and then at the end ask. Because again, as always, we don't do his research, so we'll ask at the end, does I believe?
Yeah, and normally I've got a yellow pages full of notes, but my printer broke, so I've had to bring an iPad today.
Just trying to shove it with my little phone sat here. Yeah, overcompensating for something there, ladies. So yeah, the theory of hollow
My
Earth.
wife's not watching, are you? Don't tell them.
Hollow Earth theory. When we say hollow Earth, we're going to narrow down exactly what we mean because, as you probably guessed by now, we get quite anal about points.
Whoa, we can't say anal in a video.
No, we can. Yeah, we
All
can.
right, okay.
In this context, we can. We get quite like, oh, hollow Earth. No, we are talking about this. This is what we're about. So when we're asking, is the Earth hollow?
The Earth hollow.
The Earth hollow. I keep putting heads in front of things. I don't know why. So the hollow Earth theory is a concept that planet Earth is entirely hollow or contains a substantial interior space. Note this suggested by Edmund Halley in the late 17th century. The notion was disproved first tentatively by Pierre Bouguer in 1740, then definitively by Charles Hutton in his Halion experiment around 1774. So this is a theory that was put forward and was disproven, which is a weird way to start a conspiracy theory video, I know. But
that was a scientific.
It's scientifically disproven.
Yeah.
What we're talking about, it goes on to the hollow Earth appears in almost every religion as the underworld.
Yes, so these we're probably going to, well, I don't know what you've written, but we're probably going to cover the similar topics. The Earth being hollow, the Earth having centric shells, Earth having under Earth
Civilizations,
ecosystems, and all sorts of scenario. We're probably going to look at how we got to that point, I would imagine. We're probably going to talk about stuff neither of us know about.
Yeah.
And at some point, you guys are going to see me bottling him, and he's going to say, because when we've had a drink, we generally get to a point. Last week, off camera, like we promised, we had a big debate.
Yep, we did last week.
Because you came on the other side of the fence. I was not expecting. It's like, how can you possibly come to that?
I made my case. We finished our video. We finished the end, and you went, right, dickhead.
What were you on about? So, yeah, we won't go on last week.
But yeah, so we mentioned there that it's been disproven scientifically back in 1774, but there's a kind of mysticism around this. Like it's it appears in almost every religion as the underworld. So the Egyptians believed the underworld is inside. Eastern mythology believes the underworld's inside the earth.
You've got hell, the Greek underworld.
It's not in my notes. I've not found it anywhere. But the general Western concept of hell is a place of fire and brimstone.
Under your feet, yeah.
And heaven's above, hell's below, so hell's underneath. And what scientifically we've proven we have a big burning ball of fire underneath us. We have magma, essentially, and lava and stuff. But even the concept of hell's not wrong in terms of a place of fire, because it's...
Yeah, but you could be creating a version of hell in simply people write what they see. So if you see a volcano because volcanoes have been... People have been reporting volcanoes before religion, clearly. If you see magma and lava spewing from a volcano, it's like, well, that's coming from a place that's not very nice. So,
yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Early philosophers, if you like, or theologians, see fire spewing angrily from inside the earth and going, that's not a nice place to go, and that's where you build the concept of hell from. But It's inside the earth and it's a place full of fire and brimstone because that's what they see flying out of volcanoes.
The interesting about, if we're saying the afterlife, or there's always talks of the afterlife around Earth being hollow or things living within the Earth, it's something that's shared across all religions in some way or form.
Long before they had contact with any other religions, these were well set before.
Even before religion was created. So, but it's, for me it feels like it's a common report.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't understand, you bury your dead, the dead go in the ground, so it's going underneath regardless. You've got this affinity with the earth, you're seeing things coming out of the earth you don't understand, you see the stars in the sky which are beautiful. So if you see something that's violent, like a volcano, and something violent coming out of the earth, and you see something beautiful in the sky, it's very easy to go, well, beauty is where I want things to go, but violence is something below.
Yeah, and that kind of thing as well, that you see violence coming out of the earth. We have to appease the gods, not happy, we're not. Similar with lightning storms,
earthquakes and
earthquakes.
Yeah.
But we get, I'm trying to think from above, you get like lightning storms, but
other than a raging comet.
You don't really have one from above.
But you're seeing the sun, it's keeping you warm, you see the beautiful days,
you
see the clouds and...
But the earth shaking in an earthquake, violently erupting magma and lava from a volcano, it's like that's an angry god, that's a god we don't want to visit that place, we'll keep him happy.
Yeah.
And we'll send our bad people there so that they keep him busy and he doesn't look at us good people and we can go up to where the nice places in the sun and the clouds.
I mean, that's what I think anyway, but...
It's not a stretch to come to that theory, is it?
Not that we know today. I mean, if you imagine being around thousands and thousands of years ago, no explanation of anything, how earthquakes happened, why volcanoes happened, how tectonic plates worked, anything like that at all. And you just see the earth being extremely violent, and not all the time, but especially like living in America possibly, you put like constant movement.
And then we're going back 1,000 years when religion was first created, but before religion. So the tectonic plates in use, so earthquakes are probably more regular than they are now.
I'd say so, yeah.
The planet's still forming, and so it's world belief is built and theology is built around what man observes and limited intelligence and seeing the planet reacting that way.
And let's not forget the Earth's still cooling.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard on the outside, soft in the middle.
Yeah.
Like the armadillo.
Dime bars.
Yeah.
Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside.
That's a bit of a blast from the past.
Yeah, armadillos. It's got stuck in my head all week now. But no, it's that thing of you can understand where that theology comes from, and it's even. And I know we're going back all 1,000 years, it's all created, but even not saying modern day, but it's not that modern anymore. It's like about 50s, 60s. But the first human in space was
Yuri Gagarin.
Do you know his first words were in space?
Oh shit.
No.
Okay, I don't know then.
I can't see God.
Interesting.
Man's
First atheist in space?
Yeah, I can't see God. So he genuinely thought, oh, we're going up into the heavens, we're going past the sky, past the clouds, and we're going, and God will be there waiting for me to, and like, oh no, I can't see God.
There's a good reason for that, but we'll talk about
that. We'll talk about that. But part to make them, well, thousands of years ago, we'd see lightning, lava erupting, we get this concept of hell and parts of that. 1,000 years later, in the 60s, so only like, 70 years ago? We put a man into space for the first time. First human being to let loose our earthly bonds. And his first words are, I can't find God.
It was 50 years ago.
Oh, 50 years. Was it 50 years ago?
51 years?
Not 60, surely.
So 69 when they landed on the moon, actually. So when did we go to space?
65?
65 years.
Yeah, well, closer to
No,
70.
55 years.
Alright, fine, we're in the middle there then. But anyway.
We can't count this again.
But no, I think it's like 5 years ago we came up with this concept of hell, and then as early as 55 years ago, we went, I can't see God. We still thought he were there because we had the concept of heaven and hell.
It's for me, that's a weird conclusion anyway. If you look at, unless you believe in a globe, in a flat earth, with the idea of having
the dome over it.
Yeah, like Stephen King's The Dome. Unless you've got, this impenetrable force that sits around. Unless you believe that's the case, how would you be expecting to see God just by... Because you're going up to... Clearly, these guys weren't idiots, so they had telescopes, they were scientists who
yeah, they knew what they were sending him out into. This guy's an astronaut, he knows what... I don't know, did they know all the science and stuff, or they just...
But sure,
like NASA were just test pilots, what they knew how to fly rockets with wings really fast and not die.
But surely, you don't have to... You don't genuinely believe, as soon as I break Earth's orbit, and those stars I know for a fact even in the 50s and 60s are millions and billions of miles away, that as soon as I breach Earth's atmosphere, that God's just sat in between me and all these stars. I mean, it's just bonkers.
It is. It's a weird first line to have, but yeah, the first human being to slip loose our earthly bonds, when he got there, said, I can't see God. Or I can't find God, one of those two.
But you're not going to do an
Earth's
lower
orbit.
orbit.
It was looking around, like, so I think we've just been on geosynchronous orbit something like it, but yeah, it kind of went, I can't see God, like, is it generous, but that's a shit first line to have, pal. Well, you're immortalised for that now.
Yeah. It's not quite, it's one small step for man, one giant for mankind, but yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting to this, in terms of the thousands of years have passed, that philosophy is still there today, that we believe that when, certain religious persuasions believe that when the rapture comes,
yeah,
they'll float up into the heavens.
Yeah, they'll be the chosen ones, won't they?
They'll levitate into heaven while people are left behind.
To be eaten by the Dajjal or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, it still exists today, which and I think that's an interesting point to come from. We're getting more into theology, but that's the basis that Herp is all about, because every religion, even though it's had no contact with religion, had this concept that hell is underneath. I think with it, Dante's Inferno, the 9 levels of hell, and that's inside the earth.
It's an interesting point.
The ancient Egyptians had Hades' kingdom was inside the earth.
They did, yeah, and they were always talking about the embalmed people, so they could go back to the gods. It's always been a bit weird how pretty much all religions, the ones that believe in an afterlife of torment, always believe it's underneath your feet, rather than being anything.
You think the law of probability would be like there'd be one religion that goes, when you die you go back into the earth and under the earth, and if your spirit, if you're bad, your spirit floats up and leaves the earth and you can never come back. But we've never had that.
Well,
it's always weird that hell. These religions have never interacted with each other.
But it's the same thing though. There's lots of things that happen around the world which you don't necessarily have to have interaction with each other, because you just comment on the things that you can only see with your own eyes. So there's this commonality between lots of religions who don't necessarily have met. It's not because there's been this
ancient aliens have seeded that,
or there being any interaction. It's just humankind. We don't give them enough. Probably don't give them enough credit, but they'll just say what they see. And when you were talking a non-explanation, I know we're going a bit off topic, but like the Greeks, the Vikings had gods for everything. So you're going to have an explanation of something underground. You put something under the ground again, I think, because the earth is violent, and you see violence from the earth. You see beauty, so you see obviously a lot of beauty, but when the earth decides it wants to kick up a stink, it's fucking awful.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's not nice.
No.
But you rarely see something that you can't control from the sky. So you might see a thunderstorm, a big bad blizzard. It might get really, really cold. It might get really, really hot. But
an asteroid once every 1,000 years or something. Yeah.
But typically, the skies in comparison to the earth
quite calm.
Is nowhere near as violent. When the earth goes violent,
like today, the sun gives you life, and the sun gives you water, and the sky gives you water. And the two things you need for life come from the sky, so that's benevolent and loving. And you can go, you're growing your plants, they're coming from the earth, but it's the water that grows them, it's the sunlight that grows, it's the sky that grows my plants.
Yeah, I don't know if they knew it was. I've got no idea when it was people recognised that it was water that meant plants could grow with the right kind of soil, because we didn't start irrigation for a very, very long time.
No, but we're still on farming.
We did.
So we're still watering plants and make sure they get sunlight, and so the sky provides and the earth gets angry at you, so that's why it has an underworld.
That's my only guess. I mean, clearly I wasn't there writing these books.
Oh, no, I'm trying to... Well, we are pure guess at this, but I'm just trying to say, like, every... You know, it's that thing like, well, every religion has a flood story, like Noah's Ark.
Yeah?
Yeah, because every river floods.
Yeah, because there's some occasions where they're going, well, how come we can see fish at the top point of here where there's no water? Why have we got crustaceans at the top of the mountain when there's no water around? Well, yeah, so the people have decided that...
You know, or if you're, you know, if we're in an age of earthquakes and when they're like regular earthquakes we have now because the planet's still quite hot and cooling down and stuff and tectonic plates in you, then you're going to get a lot of tsunamis as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of flooding. So that's going to be worked into theology that
yeah, and without
it's something you can't explain. Therefore, God must be angry at us. So we need to do something different to make God. Oh look, we did this now, and the flooding stopped.
Yeah, unfortunately, Occam's razor wasn't around then, was it?
No, but I'm just trying to say because one point everyone goes, well, the whole earth must be true because it's in almost every religion has an underworld, and these religions came up with the concept of an underworld without interacting with us. It's not like the Hindus got the story from the Mayans or the Christians got it from the Arabs, or you know, it's like no, it's every religion has this because every religion was built out of trying to make sense of the world around you.
We do need to be careful though, as well, because there was human migration, regardless of what we think. There was
no, but not at the point of set religion. Well, so I'm going to go back even further. The next point I'm going to make was even for, so we're talking set religion, sort of like Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikh, Islam, Christianity, that kind of thing. But Celtic mythology.
There's a lot of this in Celtic mythology. There is.
Has a lot of underworld, and this is before organised. This is more tribal, more than civilised.
Could it be Druid?
Yeah, but even Druidic is still very tribal.
Yeah.
It's not like the whole of England believed this, because it was like different towns and never interacted with each other and had different thoughts, but still kind of Celtic mythology around. So they, in Ireland, there's the Currachan, or the Kraken, I don't know how to spell it, I'm putting that right. It's also known as, I should know that, I'm a Celtic pagan, I should know how to say this. But it's also known as Ireland's Gate to Hell, and it's a mythical and ancient cave from which, according to legend, strange creatures would emerge and be seen on the surface of the earth. There's also stories of medieval knights and saints who went on pilgrimage to a cave located in Station Island in County Donegal, where they made journeys inside the earth into a place of purgatory. In County Down, Northern Ireland, there's a myth which says tunnels lead to the land of the subterranean, the Tuatha De Danann, a group of people who were believed to have introduced Druidism to Ireland and then went back underground. And the Tuatha, the people I worship, is the Celtic pagan.
Yeah.
The Tuatha De Danann are my people. But that's, again, that shows like different stages of human evolution or development, if you like.
Well,
still clings to this underworld story.
Yeah. At the same time, there's so many. Even if you talk again, we'll go back to Vikings and so on. There's so many stories of the underworld and the paranormal and all this sort of scenario that clearly it doesn't all hold up to scrutiny anymore. But at the time, someone might see something they don't understand and go, "Ooh, where did that come from?" You know, we can all be. You could be walking through the woods and see something like a corny eye. It's like, what was that? And you know, it could be a rabbit, but your brain instinctively goes, "Whoa, shit, fight or flight."
Yeah.
That was a fucking lion. It wasn't a rabbit. You know, so it's very easy for people to say, "We saw these things coming out of the ground," or this and the other. It doesn't mean it's without explanation, but it becomes legend then, doesn't it? Because there's no explanation at the time, and it gets passed around. It just becomes this legend of.
And it's also not that there's no explanation, but there's no understanding of it.
Correct. Yeah.
So you put your understanding on it, which this is a time before science, really. So it is more theology than is belief in science. So it's like, this is the world I live in. This is my understanding of the world I live in. That doesn't fit with it. It must be this, and they make a story to fit it because we couldn't survive if we didn't understand the world we live in.
Exactly. You can only use the language you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and going back even further, possibly around the same time, but Indigenous cultures, such as like Polynesians and stuff like that, believe that man walked out of the Ola Earth via caves to live on land.
Oh, so they believe that's how humans work?
Yeah, so when we go with science, we go the theory of evolution is that, you know, amoebas in the sea, great bit, and then a fish landing group legs, and that's how we started going. That's how we came from the sea and we controlled. Like, indigenous cultures believe we're just men, and we lived underground, and we found a way out one day. Walked out and just went, this is nice. We'll have this.
So it doesn't go back further than that, other than we lived on a hollow earth and then came onto the surface. But it doesn't explain how we came about under the hollow earth.
No, they believe in a society and a race of people that still live in the hollow earth.
So our gods still live in the hollow earth.
It's two different thoughts. Like, some is that it's our gods and we created some massive transgression,
right,
and we got exiled.
Okay.
And it's our penance to live on the surface. So they constantly worship the gods in the hope that they'll go, do you know what? It's been a couple of 1,000 years. You can come home now.
It's not so nice up there, is it?
Yeah, but it's like our penance is to live on the earth with and the seal off, which kind of goes along parallel, I suppose, to the Garden of Eden. Like, you eat the forbidden fruit and get kicked out of paradise, live on the earth.
Yeah.
Apart
from you've got to believe in a talking snake, but that's something.
Yeah. And I also love the argument with that God created humans, and if you believe in the Garden of Eden, then Satan created humanity.
I understand something you might be turning off now.
I think this was supposed to be a light episode this week. We've gone straight deep dive into theology and creation myths.
That might even need to be a discussion on its own.
But yeah, that runs parallel that. And the other side of that, the other idea of it is that we were inquisitive children and we got lost. And we can't find the way back in.
What, in the hollow earth?
Yeah, like, we were inquisitive children and we got lost and like, oh, what's down here? And you're not allowed out there. No, we'll go look down here. We got lost and turned around in the caves and we ended up out on the surface and we can't find the entrance back into the cave, or it's being sealed off behind us to protect the site, so they worship the site. So there's two different ways that we came out onto the earth. One is that we were curious children who got lost, and the other one is that we committed some transgression, and this is our penance.
So, okay, two people that came out of the earth. You then have to believe that two people are responsible for the entirety of the human race on the earth, and all that very close genetic DNA being passed around. We all know now.
They don't say two people. They never say two people.
Right,
They say inquisitive children.
So there could be thousands of them then.
It doesn't say how many numbers on it or
right,
whatever.
Okay.
The other one is that we've committed some transgression. So that, and again, it doesn't say if it's 4, 10, or could be an entire village of people under the hollow earth that committed some kind of transgression and got kicked out.
Right, okay.
So it doesn't say if it's two people. I mean, the only time you got two people really is Adam and Eve,
who had 3 sons.
Who had 3 sons, but then also, Eve's responsible for original sin that all women carry.
I've always found,
even though Jesus came back and absolved us all of our sins, women still carry original sin.
I've always found it a little bit strange how they had 3 sons and still bore children after that. How the human race survived, but
yeah, well,
that's being an interesting one for me.
Yeah, that brings up some questions. Yeah, I think I can see us doing the Garden of Eden at some point.
Do you reckon we've lost half our audience now?
Yeah, I think we have. We're talking to nobody now, but we'll crack on. So I didn't mean to go that deep there, which kind of shows how.
That's because of this.
Kind of shows how much, like, this is why we love. This is why we love doing unscripted videos, because we never know where this is going to go.
I haven't got a clue what you're going to bring up next.
Well, I'm going to jump forward now, because I've kind of put that base down for mythology and creation stories and
well, we've tackled it a little bit.
Yeah, but we
can't talk the whole video about it.
No, but we've put that basis down that Hollow Earth has existed long before written records and.
In only the scenario of, if we look at the Hollow Earth as being mythology of the afterlife so far.
There's mythology of the creation of life.
Yeah.
Is where we came from.
Yeah.
So there's this concept of something or someone lives under the earth.
Yeah.
That there's a society that lives there, whether that's Lucifer ruling over hell, or Hades ruling over the kingdom of the dead, or, like I say, the indigenous people believe there's a whole race of people down there where the cast outs or the exiles from that. So, kind of got that basis down. So I want to jump to where this started becoming more, I'm saying modern, I'm going to jump to the 16th century, so it's not, 17th century. It's not really that modern, but still, compared to the start we had, it's modern.
Are you sure we're going to Haley now?
Yeah, I'll let you take it since you've got it there.
Oh, okay. So in 1690...
Some more homebrew. Fun tonight.
Tell you what though, that's rocket fuel, is that shit?
This is the good shit.
he's going to have no liver. He's missing his liver out in the morning. So very briefly, people go and investigate more about Edward Halley, but specifically around Hollow Earth. He theorised the Earth was hollow and had 2 concentric shells inside, but within each concentric shell, they also had its own atmosphere. And he came to this conclusion because it was getting anomalous compass readings. And he was saying that the only way to explain it would be as if the surface is moving one way and there's another concentric shell moving another way, and then they're moving backwards and forwards. So it would cause this gravitational, like north and south. He didn't realise it was getting the wrong true north and south back to mixed up. But because of this, he was also thinking. He had an estimation based on the readings of the magnetic field that he also got readings of how big the Earth truly was wrong as well. So he got a bit of his signs wrong. But what he did basically is he believed there was atmospheres with potential capable of life underneath the Earth, I think 800 miles underneath the Earth, and we had different concentric shells, and in between there we're going to have life, supporting life, and atmospheres, and the Earth is effectively hollow with 3 different tiers.
It's like a babushka doll.
Looks more like one of the. When I imagine this, remember those Willy Wonka's gobstoppers where you suck through one and you get to the next
layer,
and you get to the core, it's really chewy. Yeah, it was like one of those. But
I mean, one of the things I like about it as well, where it proposed that one of the spheres was full of, or the first sphere down was full of luminous gas.
Yes.
And it was the escaping gas that caused the aurora borealis.
It's interesting because wasn't there? I'm struggling to remember now, but because I read so fucking much. But at one point, wasn't there the aurora borealis? And then when they took a video directly above, there was a little black dot right in the middle of it coming from the South Pole, and so people theorised that was gas escaping out of the whole of the Earth.
Yeah, and then it's dissipating out. Which kind of went on to Halley's explanation, was that there's a centric shell inside, it's the escaping gas that causes the borealis.
So how would the gas be rejuvenated, and why does it only come out certain times a year?
Because I think, didn't he explain it as it's inhabited and its gases are produced and like vented off.
So they just go, we've got enough gas, let's vent it.
It might not even be a complex civilization. It might be bacterial amoebas and stuff. It just build up of methane, and then just once it gets to a certain point, it vents out.
So the thing is that we have the borealis pretty much predictable, same time every single year. It's pretty much the same time. So
there's actually an account on Twitter now. I think it's Aurealis Watch or something like that, and they can predict the northern lights to the minute
by looking at the sun.
Yeah, they watch the sun, see the magnetic radiation from the sun, and go, oh, we estimate. And I love when they go, oh, we estimate there'll be northern lights tonight. They go, we estimate an aurora borealis at 7:32. And it's like, and it'll be seen. We estimate it'll be seen for 74 kilometres. And like, that's not an estimate. That's pretty precise for an estimation. You know.
So this idea of gas coming out and it's being released from the inner Earth, either the inhabitants of the inner Earth go, we're not allowed to release the gas till a certain time of year, and then go, here you go, poof, we've been holding it for such a long time, or it's not the inner Earth that's causing it. And maybe people have criticised me in the comments below, but because maybe I don't know enough about this idea of why the borealis would come from the inner Earth, but for me it just doesn't make any sense either. It's coming.
I can see it as like a natural release valve. You know, if pressure builds up too much through tectonic plates, we have an earthquake. If pressure builds up too much underground, we have a volcanic eruption.
But would it be? The thing is though, this cyclical cycle, this cycle of every year coming at the same time, every single. You'd surely then start seeing now and again, like the Earth does, like it spits up a few anomalies where you go, oh, just in the borealis in March. It's like, where did that come from? You know?
Yeah, I know, but and I'm not saying I agree with it, I'm just saying
I'm just trying to ask the question.
Looking back at how we were talking earlier about getting the concept of hell because the Earth's violent, you see what's around you. Didn't really understand magnetic forces, understood how a compass worked, but not that we have an electromagnetic field around the planet and the solar radiation hitting the magnetic field that causes the light. But so to their understanding, that looks green and quite weird, that looks gaseous, that must be a gas. Where does it come from? I mean, and my compass is going mental, which I hypothesise it because my cousin's going mental because I'm still on top of the two interspinning rings, so there must be a hurt. So I can see how he got to that point with understanding that at the time.
But it was a leap. It was
still a leap, but it's a case. It's not. To me, this isn't a scientific theory. This is someone experiencing something new and trying to put it into understanding.
Agreed.
And getting to putting 2 and 2 together and getting 12.
No, I can understand why trying to put together a scientific theory based upon the magnetism.
Mm-hmm.
The leap for me is like, well, that might also explain this. So it's a bit of a leap. It's trying to explain something and go, well, into this I'm going to drop into something fantastic.
In the 16th century, no one can explain what these green lights are in the sky, and you're the one guy that can.
What?
You're the one person to offer an explanation that makes sense. Where people can kind of, I know it doesn't make sense today, but back in the 6th century you go, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I understand that.
It didn't really make sense then. I think it was pretty much debunked relatively quickly. But yeah, I mean, Edmund Halley was really the first person who tried to scientifically say, the Earth is hollow, this is what my scientific, it's based upon magnetism, and it looks like this, and the only way to explain the magnetism, with my complete lack of understanding so far, is this, and it's probably revolutionary for design.
I mean, don't forget, he proposed this in 1692. And it wasn't until 1740 and then again in 1774 that it was debunked. So this held for nearly 100 years, so it kind of gives you an understanding what the level of science was at that point.
Agreed. I think after this though, it was a while after, but we started getting the idea of, so Edmund Halley's talked about the Earth could be hollow, but the first thing I could see about actually finding holes into the Earth, where you could actually go into the Earth, was in 1818 by a guy called John Cleave Sims. And he published something called the Circular Number 1. And he said that...
I've got John Cleave Sims.
He declared to the world that the Earth is hollow. He was a veteran of the 1812 war, an unsuccessful trader, and soon became the most successful proponent of the hollow Earth theory for the time. He, like Halley, he explained the multi-layered model, but apart on this occasion, the only thing that was a bit unique to him is he would said that the North and South poles allowed access to the hidden world by these huge holes in the Earth. He also said that it supported life and that the inside of the world would be stocked with thrifty vegetables and animals, and if not men. And Sim believed that the theory was not science fiction but fact, and he applied it not only to the Earth but to all planetary bodies, that all planetary bodies in the universe were hollow. He had absolutely no evidence for this, but
no.
he said that that's what he thought.
Yeah, I mean, I've got here that in... What year did you get there?
1818.
Yeah, I've got in 1818, John Cleave Sims Jr. suggested the Earth consists of a hollow shell about 13 kilometres thick, with openings about 2,300 kilometres across at both poles, with 4 inner shells, each open at the poles. Sims became the most famous of the early hollow Earth proponents, and Hamilton, Ohio even has a monument to him and his ideas. He proposed making an expedition to the North Pole Hall, thanks to efforts of one of his followers, James McBride. I have a few more before that kind of talk about...
Skit.
Yeah, so I've got DeCamp and Lay. Also claimed that Sir John Leslie expanded on Euler's idea, suggesting 2 central suns named Pluto and Proserpine. It's unrelated to the...
How's it pronounced?
Proserpine?
Proserpine, yeah.
This was unrelated to the dwarf planet Pluto, which was discovered and named a century later. Leslie did propose a hollow Earth in his 1829 Elements of Natural Philosophy, but does not mention interior suns. Jules Verne alludes to the Pluto-Proserpine theory, which he attributes to an English captain of the journey centre of the Earth. And then Leclerc Mulford in 1781 led a journey with hundreds of Creek Indians to a series of caverns near the Red River above the junction of the Mississippi River. According to Mulford, the original Creek Indian ancestors are believed to have emerged out of the surface of the Earth in ancient times from the caverns. Mulford also claimed the caverns they saw could easily contain 15,000 to 20,000 families. Which
would have been massive for the year. Like you're talking, I mean, I don't know how many people lived on the Earth. What year was that?
1781.
I mean, we wouldn't have been at 1 billion then.
No.
So that would have been a huge amount
of populace. Leclerc Mulford is just kind of... I mentioned before about Indigenous people believe that we came out of the Earth from society underground and came and lived on the Earth, and they've kind of gone, oh yeah, it's this cave here, it's like these massive caverns. And he's just kind of seen this massive cavern and can't explain why something so big exists, and tacked it onto their creation myth.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain where this came from, really, without the complete lack of evidence.
Yeah.
It just seems possibly that.
I mean, to him, the only evidence he gives off is that he went to these caverns near the Red River, on the junction of the Mississippi River, and saw these massive caverns that could easily contain 15,000, 20,000 families, according to him. And just went, oh, that story must be true then.
Okay. Again, that's another leap of faith there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That could store. You could also say, well, there's loads of vegetable people living there who have got magic powers, because that's just as much of a leap as his 20,000 families.
It used to be a troll city till the trolls moved out.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's not much more you can really say about them. I'll just point out that because you jumped to 1818, we've got this is a prevalent theory. It keeps popping up. You know, like what we've got in the years we've got here. So we've got 1692, 1829, 1781. This, even though it gets debunked or laughed at, it holds some tenacity. Also, when it keeps popping back up every
all good
so
conspiracies
often.
do.
Yeah. I've got Jeremiah Reynolds. Also delivered lectures on the Hollow Earth and argued for an expedition. Reynolds went on an expedition to Antarctica himself, but missed joining the Great US Exploring Expedition of 1838-1842, even though that venture was a result of his agitation. So he kind of banging on living lectures all across America about the solo and stuff. Went on an expedition that I'm assuming failed, because the only bit I can hear about is that those notes got there. And then
he didn't ever get to go.
And then because of all these lectures and stuff, the Great US Exploring Expedition of 1838 to 1842 happened, and he didn't get to go on it, even though it was his fault that it existed in the first place.
It's pretty unlucky.
That is pretty gutting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Sims, I've got though Sims himself never wrote a book about his ideas. Several authors published works discussing his ideas. McBride, who I mentioned earlier, where did I mention McBride? To how high has a statue, Hamilton has a monument to him, his ideas. He proposed making an expedition to North Pole, thanks to one of his followers, James McBride. So James McBride wrote Sims' Theory of Concentric Spheres in 1826. It appears that Reynolds has an article that appeared as a separate book in 1827, Remarks of Sims' Theory, which appeared in the American Quarterly Review in 1868, and a professor, W.F. Lyons, published The Hollow Globe, which put forth a Sims-like Hollow Earth hypothesis, but failed to mention Sims himself. Sims' son Americus then published the Sims' Theory of Concentric Spheres in 1878 to set the record straight.
So his son started writing about it as well?
Yeah, so basically Sims has put his theory forward, and over the next 50 years, people tried expanding on his theory or putting his theory on paper, even though Sims himself never did it. So his son went, actually, no, you're not going to fuck off, this is what my dad actually meant, stop making money off my dad.
Or alternatively,
I got some of this sweet dad money.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, this wonderful story that I'm about to write is the truth. And people go,
whoa, my dad told me directly.
This is the secret after his death that he couldn't tell people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, possibly the most famous writings, gotta be Jules Verne.
It's got to be Jules Verne.
It's gotta be
James Verne, yeah.
It's got to be. It's it's where proposed this weird world inside of our own, and it became like the benchmark for all Hollow Earth theorists to rip from after that point.
Yeah, I mean that was based from, it says here that Euler's idea suggesting two central suns, and Jules Verne alludes to that, and he attributes to an English captain in the journey to the centre. So he kind of alludes to Euler's theory of two central suns. So he's taking that theory and building his work of fiction on it.
But he said it's a work of fiction. He didn't ever come out and go, this is true, this is fact. He wrote it as a fantasy story.
Yeah, but it was wrote as what happened if we travelled there. Not this doesn't exist. It could exist, but if it does exist, how would we? Maybe he believed it existed, and he imagined how we'd get there, what it'd take to get there. So that's where he wrote his story.
Yeah, but I'm sure he was the first one to say stuff like prehistoric jungles, advanced lush races, and all sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, he added all that to it. Yeah.
So he was the first one to come out and go, there is a Hollow Earth. it's got this amazing earth inside the earth. It's also got all these prehistoric animals, this and that. And he specifically said it's a work of fiction. But it's weird how he says something's a work of fiction and it suddenly becomes, I won't quite say zeitgeist.
The basis of scientific fact.
yeah, everyone go, whoa, did he really mean it? When it's clearly...
and probably because it's based off Euler's theory, that people have gone, actually, it's based off Euler's theory. Let's look at Euler's theory more and expand on it.
It's also got a lot of Halley Sims though. We're talking about, you find an entry point into the Earth.
Yeah.
You know, like, Halley's talking about there being this ability to have this inner Earth. Sims is going, well, they actually get these north and south pole points to get into the Earth, and Verne just goes, well, I'm just going to expand
and Euler says there's two suns inside the Earth, so he just kind of picks the bits he likes out of each one, and there's a cracking story in there, actually.
It's a really good fiction.
It's a hollow Earth and there's two suns inside. What if it were like a sun touched by man? And I'm guessing it, I might be wrong on my history, but I'm guessing at this point we had like trips to Madagascar and the
You'd expect so.
South American rainforest that were untouched by man, and it's like
we're settling a lot of boats then, weren't we?
But it's like, oh, we found all this out there that's untouched by man. What would it be like if an entire planet, if you like, inside the planet is untouched by man? What would that look like? And it'd be prehistoric and all this, but how would the plants grow? I don't know. Euler said there's two suns. So I said adapting from Euler.
Exactly.
And now we've got Halley's Earth, but we've got Euler with the two suns, that allows the plants to grow. But how do you get into it? Actually, Sims said there's a hole at the top and the bottom, so I'll put that bit in, and now the story makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, you've got all these little bits and bats, and he pulls it together in this wonderfully published book, and then it becomes this. I don't know. It captured an audience, like it's still capturing an audience 250 years later.
Yeah, and I think even
150 years later, so my maths is still terrible.
But even the news that the stuff we're going to go on to later on, like the next time, I don't know where you've got next, but I jump now to Admiral Byrd.
I've got a bit in between 1871 next,
but even when we jump from Admiral Byrd, we've still got elements of Jules Verne in there. With Admiral Byrd.
We'll talk about that because you're right about the forest appearing.
We'll get to the next. We'll get to Byrd in time. What else have you got?
So yeah, talking fiction that became a bit more than fiction is, and I'm sure we've all heard of the Vril before.
Yeah, this Adolf Hitler and the Vril Society. And
so this leads on
the
to
occult side of Nazism.
Absolutely. So
nice segue from last week's episode. Well played.
Unintentional. But also, so is Admiral Byrd and Nazis. But we're going to go on to that as well. But yeah, this Edward Bulwer Lytton wrote a book called The Coming Race in 1871, and he just wrote it as a story where he's talking about this a wealthy traveller and a friend go down to this chasm and a rope breaks and it kills his friend. He finds his way into this world is like full of all these like angel-like beings, and he becomes friends with one of these beings, and he's shown on this city that looks like ancient Egypt. Then they never name the explorer as well, so it's still always an unnamed explorer. And he meets within this city. He meets this host, effectively, this like angel-like being, and then he meets their wife and son, and they learn to speak English because that's his tongue. The host's daughter, who's called Z, explains that they're called the Vrilya. They're the telepaths. They've got parapsychological abilities. So, as an example, they can rid you of pain. They can put you to sleep. They can do all these sorts of things. And it turns out that the Vrilya are also descendants of another ancient race called the Anna, who live in tunnels and networks, and they all originally fled into Earth to hide from the flood.
There we go. Every religion has an all earth, and every religion has a flood story.
They gain great power by facing towards really harsh conditions on Earth, but they gain great power from that. And where they were, so where this narrator who's telling the story said there was 12,000 families in this like technologically supported utopia.
Mississippi River.
Exactly. But their main source of energy was the Vril. Like this special liquid. It's a force that means you can control things at will, which is what Hitler sort of came into. So it's like
I've never said George Lucas came in with.
What's that?
Well, this force that you can create things at will.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And what's it? See, the people behind the force, the wills.
The Vril. So the
No, I mean Star Wars. It's the wills that send the midichlorians into our bodies.
I cannot remember that.
It's in the expanded universe in the book. I think it wouldn't be Lucas's trilogy, but yeah, just like with the Vril, and in George Lucas's world where you have the Force, is the people who propagate the Force and beings that live in another dimension are called the Wills.
Are you trying to tell me that George Lucas ripped off
I think he might have done.
Edward Bull Willett?
I think he might have done because it was the Diary of the Wills. I think is it's WHILLS. I think it is.
All right, I like Star Wars, but you're balls deep in Star Wars.
Oh, I'm balls deep in Star Wars, mate. Don't you worry.
Maybe not the new shit though.
I've not watched the last film of the sequel trilogy, but I am fucking balls deep in the Mandalorian.
Good.
We saw a shark on screen.
It's true Star Wars.
It's a documentary from a galaxy a long time ago.
Yeah. So get back to the Vril and
yeah. Sorry.
So
when you mentioned the Force and the Wills, like Force and the Wills. This and the Vril, like. This is very similar here.
I wonder where George...
Yeah, I wonder where George got that idea from. Sorry, I put you off track. Go on, carry on.
It's okay, back to the news clip.
So it just hit me like... you get some revelation, like, I've known this for years and never put the two together. I know the Vril Society and I know
Star Wars. I don't need to spoil Star Wars. We never had this discussion.
This is not the... This is not the mythology you're looking for.
So... Anyway, the power of the Vril means they can heal, change, and destroy beings. But the destructive powers in particular are immense, which is what Hitler was looking for. Mm-hmm. Allowing a few young Vril or children to destroy an entire city if they wanted to. He had that power to just go, I can just destroy a city if I want.
Yeah, because what Hitler sort of like gave up on the atomic bomb because he knew they couldn't get the atomic bomb or they couldn't get it in time, so he went to go get the Vril. And use them instead of, like, you've got the atom bomb, but make them out of the atom bomb means fuck all compared to these people we've got, and this power we've harnessed.
Well, I thought that Hitler was into the occult way before it became into power, but I don't know enough about the history of it, to be honest, but that could very well be true.
Yeah, well, that's another episode, we'll explore that in another episode at a later date.
We won't spoke about Hitler, but we'll talk about it again another day. But what they did say is that women are stronger and larger than men in the story.
Oh, that's different, yeah.
Absolutely. And the women are the pursuing party in the romantic relationship. So the guys are like, I'm not really that interested in the women going, no. Like some of those spiders who just eat the men after
the Black Widows and the praying mantis and...
Yeah.
Do you know the I love you went Black Widow praying mantis, my head went straight to Futurama.
Oh, jeez. I've not even seen Futurama, but it's just like, where your brain goes in comparison to mine. Mine goes to nature, yours goes, cartoons. Okay.
No, this is an episode of Futurama. It's like these big giant Amazon women and they get fried, who's like this human being, and they're like, you are snoo snoo now! And like, no, my turn for the snoo snoo! And it's like this
what's a snoo snoo?
You can guess what snoo snoo is. Is this a primetime cartoon? You have to come up with a new word for hopping on the good foot and doing the bad thing. But it's like this tribe of Amazonian women, kind of like DC's Wonder Woman and the Greek mythology of those women. I can't remember the island they're off now. But yeah, it's similar to that kind of story, but this Fry is this human man that lands there and they've not had a man for like decades and they're like, the snoo snoo now!
You've got a lot to live up to.
There's a bit where you just see him walk out just kind of like, and then another one grabs him and pulls him into work. But yeah, so just like you went to Black Widow's praying mantis, I went to snoo snoo.
Clearly there's a theme. There's a theme.
You're going nature and mythology, I'm going Star Wars and Futurama.
Yes.
You see where I spent my years.
I guess there's a lot of people who would like this next part. The women, when they drop the men and literally get to this romantic relationship, they only marry for 3 years, and then at the end of it, I don't know if there's a contract, but you go, do you want to choose to remain married? After 3 years, you have this little thing where you go, shall we do this or shall we just be single? The Vrilyar believe in the permanence of life, which according to them is not destroyed but merely changes form. So we're talking spiritual.
This is where we get the idea of a soul, if you like, or when your body dies, your soul goes on to heaven or goes to hell, and there's an afterlife.
But now there's a twist.
Yeah.
There's always a twist. So Z this angel being woman falls in love with him. Then she tells her father, who orders a guy called Tai, who's a son, to kill him with his special wizard staff. So Gandalf comes out and says,
"You shall not pass.
You shall not pass.
You shall not snoo."
Exactly. I wish I'd have put that in. You will not snoo with my Z. Tai and Z disagree, and they help him escape back to the surface, basically. And returning to the surface, he warns that in time the Vrilyar will run out of space underneath the Earth, and they'll reclaim the surface of the Earth. And then when they do, they're going to destroy all of mankind, similar to like the Rapture, I would suppose. If necessary, because they completely lack empathy. And again, we're talking Star Trek and so on.
Yeah. Like Vulcan at this point.
So they're ripping this little bit off, I suppose. But this, I've put a little note at the end of this. This is ultimately was one of the books that affected the Nazis and landed in the hands of the Thule Society, Thule, Thule, as a cult. They backed Hitler and the Nazis of the Thule. So the Thule Society read this book, thought there's truth in it. That
this is a blueprint to
I think the belief was that he was sort of writing this in disguise. This really happened, but we'd have to disguise what happened. So they wrote it.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to the tale of King Arthur and the Pendragon Spirit is not actually meant to be a literal tale and Arthur lived. It was
read between the lines.
Pagans get burnt at the stake for passing any of their knowledge along, so they hid it in stories and parables.
Yeah, exactly.
So King Arthur, the Pendragon Spirit is what flows through Arthur and is the once and future king, and he's going to come back and blah blah. But the Pendragon Spirit is supposed to be a parable for ley lines, the fire that runs under the earth of England. It's kind of alluding to ley lines and stuff and places of power.
I find ley lines quite interesting, but again, we can't talk about it today.
Yeah, but that's kind of the idea is that this is a work of fiction, but it's truth and fact with fiction over the top, so that it can get passed around and not get brought up. People like if you got Sean saying the Bible, you get get applauded. But if you've got Sean saying pagan teachings, you get burnt at the stake for being a witch. So it's all these stories that are these fairy tales, like Brothers Grimm type thing, and that's how the knowledge got passed along.
Interesting story.
Yeah.
Like hidden story.
Yeah, so they're kind of the Nazis here are going kind of like a pagan route of like, this is true, but they're hiding it in a story so it can be passed along and smuggled out. And
well, as the Thule Society dictated, I think Hitler took it literally. Like, there's a real power and it's in Antarctica and I'm off.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Literally took it as a fact that I don't know how the Thule Society put it to him or how he got involved or how he became part of cultism. I'll have to probably investigate more, but literally it's like, Vril exists and I'm off to go get it.
Yeah, I mean that's what you just said there. Hitler took it literally when this power exists, it's on Antarctica, I'm off to go get it. Instantly again, took my mind to Stargate SG-1.
Well, there's lots of 20th century, 21st century stuff that's ripping this shit.
Yeah, that is, Stargate SG-1 is my favourite sci-fi series of all time, the way it just weaves ancient theology and myths into a coherent sci-fi plot, really. But the fact that you use the Egyptian gods as the goal system lords and Anubis is attacking Earth to wipe it out, and there's power in Antarctica from an ancient civilization, and Captain Jack O'Neill goes and gets it, and it's the ancients who were on
I never watched it, so you just going to narrate to me.
Yeah, it's the ancients were thought as the Atlanteans before they left for Atlantis, left an outpost.
Right.
And it's this certain gene that some of us have in us that are descending from ancients can control their technology if you've got this gene in you.
What's that blood type called again? Where is it blood type R, whatever it is, it's meant to be the blood type of the gods?
Rhesus. I'm more Rhesus positive. I think she's like the most common blood type, I think.
No, Rhesus is a very uncommon blood type.
I'm more Rhesus positive.
Well, you
I think A is the...
Well,
A is the ones mod after because anyone can take it.
Well, there's A, B, or Rhesus, isn't there?
Yeah,
so,
I'm more Rhesus positive, yeah.
So you've got the blood of the gods.
Yeah, but it's like when you say that, it's just when you said there's power, there's power in Antarctica and I want to go and get it, and it's kind of like, I love Stargate SG-1 the way it crafts me, but I'd never realised that as well, where there's power in Antarctica and they go get it and wipe out.
Well,
so it's like, it's brilliant how they twist that and turn that in.
Well, it's just peculiar how, I don't quite understand how the Thule Society went, I'm terrible if that's pronounced incorrectly. I'm sorry.
I think it's Thule. It's Thull, isn't it?
No, Thule.
Thule.
Thule, yeah. So how they've somehow gone. Well, this is this has been written as a fantasy story. They've gone, well, I don't think this is.
There's some origin story in this if you pick between the lines and read it.
And they've gone, well, this exists. This cultism's created, and then somehow it's got to Hitler going from a fantasy story to a cultism, and Hitler going, this shit's real.
We're going for. I'm going to spend a lot. And you think if Hitler we'll look into that another time in another episode. But all the money, time, and resources he'll put, you think if you'd have put it into the war, you might have won it.
Or alternatively, they were losing the war. I thought we need to find something else quickly.
Yeah, but as far as I understand it, Germany was the height of its power and looking unstoppable, like 41, 42. When they started searching for Antarctica and then the Thule.
Maybe so. Maybe the Thule said go now, and then they put the money together. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's more. We'll look into that deeper another time. But yeah, it's.
But there's more stories that. I know I'm dwelling on these things, but these are really important because these stories kind of mould today's version of what Hollow Earth is. There's a couple more I kind of want to go over, which one had a specific cultural impact, but there were some other stories which had an impact. Well, two more books before when I get onto one that's important. Now, it's kind of talked about Hollow Earth. One was about Olaf Jansen, and in a book called The Smoky God in 1908. And he was a Norse father and his son, and they had this small fishing boat, and they tried to find the land beyond the North Wind, basically.
North Pole,
They'd heard about it supposedly, and a windstorm apparently carried them through this polar opening into the Hollow Earth, so they got swept inside by a storm. They spent 2 years there, supposedly. Then his dad died, and then an iceberg broke in two and destroyed the boat, and the son was rescued, and then he told this story. And he said he was placed in prison at first because he was insane and no one would believe him. So he's basically said, "You're a bit funny."
Yeah. You've been in isolation a bit too long, mate. You talk to your dead dad. Get in there, pal.
Here's some pills and some electric on your head.
Yeah.
But after being released and spending 26 years as a fisherman, he went to the United States. And in his 90s, he befriended a guy called Willis George Emerson, and he told his story to him. So it could also be the musings of a dementia old man. Yeah,
it's dementia, Alzheimer's setting in here.
Yeah, but on his deathbed, he gave him maps which made the interior of the earth and manuscripts of his experiences. And in the book, he said that people live from 400 to 800 years, and they have advanced science. They can transmit their thoughts from one another by certain types of radiation and a source of power greater than our electricity. They created flying saucers, which operate with superior power and draw from the electromagnetism of the atmosphere. And they are 12 or more feet in stature, so they're big.
Yeah.
And I said on another interesting side note, in 1942, NASA Germany sent out an expedition composed of some of its leading scientists in an attempt to find the entrance to the Hollow Earth. Göring, Himmler and Hitler enthusiastically endorsed the project. The Fuhrer was convinced the Earth was concave and that man lived inside the globe. And potentially this was another one of those books where it said 800-year-old beings living under the Earth. They've got all this technology. They're using the electromagnetism of the Earth, which is in itself is incredible because I don't really know about whether they knew anything about electromagnetism. What they knew about electromagnetism.
Well, there's again, my mind is jumping straight to the Bell. Which was a Nazi base that was supposedly working with anti-gravity. They had a big bell-shaped craft, and it was inside a stone ring, and they were trying to work with anti-gravity and get this craft to float. So, assuming they're working with electromagnetism, they're trying to work on this.
But that was the 40s, though. This was 1908.
No, but about you mentioned Hitler and Göring, and they were searching for it. So they're kind of working with electromagnetism at this point. 1908, I think we're around about the time of Tesla, aren't we?
Yeah, but
so we're talking electromagnetism. He's looking at radio waves and Wi-Fi and.
Yeah, but he was so. This was a guy who was a fucking genius, sat there doing these incredible things.
But what you're saying, like, we don't know how much we knew in 1920, how much they knew about electromagnetism. Because you talk about using electromagnetism power. If you're writing a wonderful work of fiction, making up some bullshit, you want to be believable. Look over to your side, and there's this guy sat on a chair in the middle of lightning.
I suppose.
And he's talking about electromagnetism and electricity and Wi-Fi and and radio waves, it's like, and wireless electricity, it's like, yep, that electromagnetism. Yeah, that sounds like a good word, I'll use that.
I don't know what it means, but we're sticking it in.
Yeah, and it works with electric, and it's this great power. Alright, we'll put that in, and, you know, so I can see it being like you don't have to understand it. If you're writing this work of fiction, and there's actually this factual photo of a guy sat in a chair with, you know, that famous Tesla photo where he's sat in the paper, the lightning box is in, Faraday cages.
Yeah, the Faraday cage, that's right, yeah.
So yeah, I can see like you don't have to know about electromagnetism to work it in this story.
Maybe not, but I just think it's fascinating that in 1908, like, this really, really old man on his deathbed, who I probably think he's either...
In fact, he's talking about electromagnetism that flies across, so he's talking anti-gravity there.
Well, he's talking flying saucers.
He's talking flying saucers.
When was the first time we saw a flying saucer? You know, might have been some very basic conversations, but this guy in 1908 is going, well, this is where flying saucers came from.
Yeah, I think we're... Betty, what's the name?
Well, no, so Betty and Barney Hill were the first.
Betty and Barney Hill were the first abductees, weren't they?
Well, the first real abductees, but...
Yeah, so really flying saucers before that?
I mean, there was some very, very frequent cases.
I think it is a case that there's probably flying saucers before that, but I think really before Betty and Barney Hill or Roswell, that it really took hold as a flying saucer phenomenon that people reported them.
So for him to write about this idea of underneath the Earth is this technologically advanced race, unless they've heard stuff about Atlantis or whatever from previous writers and sort of ripped it off a little bit, but it was kind of new, that conversation, I would say.
Yeah, I suppose it's very, I don't know, partly what's going on, it's very Jules Verne in that it's just spot technology advanced for prehistoric.
That's true.
And we know, we've already discussed Jules Verne is ripped off theories from other scientists, well, not ripped off, but built on them and borrowed from them. So maybe he's just gone Jules Verne, but technology advanced. But yeah, it's just stuff he explains flying saucers and kind of electromagnetism as a source of power for the craft. So it's kind of sparking out anti-gravity there. But yeah, it's interesting. So that doesn't come out of nowhere. Everything else we can kind of go, oh, he said this because this before him, or Jules Verne has taken this bit and that bit, and this is kind of like, yeah, he's just come up with electromagnetism. Like, the only explanation for it was like he's probably seen testing the Faraday cage, or he's read some
maybe so, yeah, of course, yeah.
But possibly not.
But other things just seem like a bit of a rip-off of the Bible. So, you know, people can live to 400 to 800 years. I mean, I know before the flood, before Noah's Ark.
Yeah, what Moses and Noah, like Noah 908 when he died or something.
So we're talking that, and then giants again. That was in the Bible about there was giants on the earth beforehand, the Nephilim and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the Nephilim and all that.
So really, you could see that a part of this is a lifting shift from the Bible into a story, but that's quite unique. You know, electromagnetism
was quite unique, yeah.
And flying saucers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really explain the flying saucers. The only thing I can explain with the electromagnetism is Tesla, yeah. Because I think it's about 1908. It's not the same time.
Yeah.
Same time period.
I think you're about right, yeah.
So yeah, maybe borrowing the electromagnetism and kind of like...
I think it was just before that, actually. I think it was just before that, you know?
Yeah, so you're kind of taking an old story, like Bible stories, giving it a modern day twist and putting some new technological breakthrough into it to not sprinkle here's some creation myth, here's some old tales from around the world, and we'll put a sprinkle of truth on it and modern technology, and ta-da, there's a...
They say the greatest lies are
the kernel of truth.
Yeah, because if you know it's truth, you can't debunk the lie. So,
yeah, it's like
politicians and stuff.
That's like why, like with sci-fi, no matter how out there and amazing sci-fi is, whether it's like Star Trek exploring the planets, or SG-1 defending the Earth from Egyptian gods and stuff like that, or Sliders where they're jumping between dimensions. It's based in reality. So
Sliders, that was a great TV.
That was a great TV. I started watching it recently, that's why I put it in my head. But the theory behind Sliders was the current working theory of the multiverse at the time.
Yeah.
So it was. I think the first season is correct to the theory, and then after that it kind of goes off on its own. But then, Stargate and Stargate has is based on theology from the Egyptians, and later on borrows from medieval with Merlin and Morgana, Le Fay and stuff like that. So you've got a basis in our reality, but all of them have human relationships and human emotions. So no matter how fantastic and weird is that this planet is they're on, or how that shit moves and gets there, but people fall in love and people are scared and people deal with this in a human way. So that's that reality that you can ground in it. It's So I think that might be a case of just like, here's this wonderful and fantastic. Well, this sounds like absolute bollocks. What do we see in today's paper? Look what this guy's doing. Exactly. Oh, right, if that's true.
That can look
this is true, so everything else in here must be true.
It's because you can't debunk it. That's the problem. So you don't have the opportunity or that truth. It could be true. You could make a penny bullshit around the kernel of truth, and it's like, well, I can't debunk your faith. What you said to me, but I know this bit's true, so therefore this could also be true. Especially back then, 20th century just started. Couple more.
Yeah.
One very minor one, and then the one that I really, really like. So we'll talk. A very minor paragraph I've got here is about William Reed called "The Phantom of the Poles" in 1906.
Right.
And he just a very brief paragraph he said the Earth is hollow. The poles, so long sought, are phantoms. They are openings at the northern and southern extremities. In the interior are vast continents, oceans, mountains and rivers. Vegetable and animal life are evident. And in this new world, it's probably peopled by races unknown to dwellers on the Earth's surface. So he wrote this Phantom of the Poles, and I don't know if he wrote it as a point of fiction or if he put it as a point of fact, but he specifically stated the Earth is hollow. It might not be. It is hollow. It's got. There's no north and south pole. It's all a phantom. The big holes in the Earth, and we've got all these things that are dwelling in it. But this came after other stories beforehand. So for me, it feels like a bit of a lift and shift with a little bit new.
Yeah, I was just think that like all these stories have the entrance being at the North Pole.
Only reason to say that is because the poles at the time were no one had been there. No one had really gone, this is what the poles look like. So it's really easy to go, there's a place we don't know about, it must exist there, because you can't go and debunk it.
Yeah, but then I'm thinking like, one, why would you have every compass pointing to this ancient civilization that's been hiding from us for centuries?
Because there's someone there with a big ball of magnet going, come on you bastards, come and find it. Yeah, it's not
like
that, is it?
Every compass is pointing to it and telling us the way to it. Or is it a case of when we're older and wise enough to understand it, we know our way home?
No.
Now we understand. No, I'm just spitballing. I'm going to get to a point in a minute, right?
Good.
But
I'll stop.
So like, we understand that compasses point north and we use them to navigate the world and discover and explore and find new civilization and people and stuff, and then go, well, always points to this bit, always points to, so let's just keep going north till we get there, let's get to, and is it a case of like, now you understand how to use magnets to navigate, you're old enough to come home and learn about your true origin, your true story, and this ancient civilization is waiting to greet us once we're old enough to find our way home, or we've found our way home, we know where to go, but we haven't got the technology to survive to get there yet. Which is a great, fantastic book to write and puts me in the same league as these now. And I've just come up with that while sat here listening to you.
Well, no, but I'm sure on a completely different side note. There's a guy called Edgar Casey who was famous for being, he believed he was psychic and so on, and he was talking about something very similar in a different vein where when we're ready, we're going to find the Hall of Records that are hidden inside the Sphinx. So right. There's an entrance in the top of the Sphinx, which you actually see on some 1890s pictures. Yeah. And inside it is a Hall of Record from the great city of Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria, which shows us where we came from. It's like the history of our DNA, history of where we come from.
We have to grow up and be able to...
But we have to be on this conscious level.
We have to be able to understand them before we can find them.
Well, we have to get this, supposedly we have to get to this position on the Earth of, we get to a level of consciousness, we take this next step. And once we've taken that next step of consciousness where we all become, for me, that ties into AI.
Yeah.
But once we get to this idea where we're all connected, whether that's Google, AI or whatever, then we'll understand it. So, quite right, but yeah, Edgar Casey had this supposed telepathic experience, and that's what he said.
Go back to Stargate again, that reminds me of the Norse gods. There's one episode where they've got this planet, and it's the Norse gods, Thor is protector of this planet. And they've got this cowling with Thor, and he's got Thor's there as a hologram, and he's talking to them, and they've got a puzzle on the wall. And it's basically there's a circle of sand, and they just draw a line from the middle of the sand to the edge. Because the circle, all the riddle comes to pi.
Alright, okay.
So they draw a line from the edge of the circle, and then this hologram of Thor disappears and becomes this alien Asgard, who's called Thor. and he's dressing up as a god because they can't understand who he is and what he is. But once they can understand pi, then they're able to understand. Then they're mentally ready to accept aliens and stuff. So it's like they put that there as a measure of their. And I suppose that's kind of the thing I was trying to get at there. Like, I was making up a story off the top of my head, but is the North Pole where the opening is it magnetic because the teachers to come home, but we can't find the way home until we get a certain level of understanding. That, you know, we're cavemen running around hitting mammoths with sticks, you know, and then suddenly we've got this little thing in our hand with a metal pointer that points the way home. Like,
true north.
You understand true north. You understand how to get here and navigate here. Now you're intelligent enough at the next level of understanding to be able to.
Apart from people who'd follow true north, went, this is fucking cold.
Yeah, but I'm saying that we can follow it, but then it's one thing following it, but then we don't have the technology to survive that journey. So then you need a second level of understanding to, you know, where we need to go.
Yeah.
We just need to get more technology advanced to get there.
Yeah.
But I just made all that up. That's a lot of bullshit I just made up while sat here. And it makes a great story that fits in with all these.
It's as believable as all the other shite I've read so far.
But no, that's the point I'm trying to make. It's fantastic, it's great, but the thing I'm trying to get was all these stories have an opening in the North Pole. But all our magnets point to where they are. Why would you do that?
In my opinion, it's very simple. You've got two continents on the Earth. Well, one's a continent and one's an ice sheet. But you've got a north and south. One's a sheet and one's a continent. Where we know it exists. We've never been there. It's the great unknown. It's still quite unknown today, actually.
Yeah.
But back then, it was the great unknown. We think we've explored the rest of the world. It's like, if you're going to put a story, you're going to put poles somewhere. You're going to put it where you can't find them.
Yeah.
So it's the most obvious place to put anything. Any conspiracy today, the most obvious place to go is in Antarctica.
No, but what I'm saying is if it's true.
Yeah.
Let's say it's true. There's an ancient civilization in the world and the openings are at the North and South Pole. Why would the openings, if you're hiding from human beings and you've been hiding for thousands of years, why would you have every magnet on Earth point to where you are? You've just got a compass going, just every time you get a compass out, they're screaming, they're over there, they're over there. Surely you get rid of that, or you move the opening somewhere else, or.
I understand what you're saying, but yeah, we'll sit here for now.
Yeah. So what was the book you wanted to get to then?
Yeah, so I'll put this on the table. For me, I think in the 21st century, the book that, or the story that changed everything Hollow Earth is from a guy called Richard Sharp Shaver. And what he did is he sent a letter to a magazine basically called Amazing Stories, which is like a fiction magazine.
I've heard this. Amazing Stories has been responsible for quite some good conspiracy theories, if what I'm thinking of.
But what he did is he wrote to these guys and said he discovered this ancient alphabet called the Man.
But again, I think in Amazing Stories something similar to sort of like the Twilight Zone before TV.
Yeah.
It was quite a famous publication, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Where we got like the first written tales of Bigfoot, I think, and stuff like that.
Possibly. Amazing Stories is like a fantasy.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy magazine. You write in, if they liked it, they pay you a little bit of money and publish it.
Yeah.
You know, so you like.
Took you off course again.
No,
it's just that I've heard that before somewhere. I think.
All these unpublished authors are just writing a little thing and then they publish it. But anyway, so Richard Sharpshaver wrote in to say he'd actually discovered this new ancient alphabet known as the Mantan, which was a universal language, but it's from extraterrestrials.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I believe this is evidence of the ALEians. It was published in 1943, and then after the letter was published, he followed up to the publisher because he asked for more evidence, and he wrote a 10,000 word manuscript,
right,
called A Warning to Future Man, which he proposed was a true story. It wasn't a fiction story; it was a true fact story that happened to him.
Right.
And he said in 1932, he's working in a slaughter plant, and he had this welding gun, and it malfunctioned somehow when he was holding it. And then after it stopped malfunctioning, he started to hear the thoughts of all his co-workers, and he was like, he proper freaked out. He's like, he didn't get it, and then he started to have these visions of this like sadistic, these mutants causing all these sadistic torture sessions within the earth on people, and he just couldn't handle it anymore. So he left his job and basically became homeless. So he lived on the streets for a long time.
I think I know this story.
Possibly.
Is this the mad homeless guy with the angel?
Yes.
Yeah. Go on. Carry on. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
But he claims that over a 10-year period he encountered this beautiful being from the centre of the earth called Nydia. And she appeared as a hologram, but he thought it was a ghost. But at one point, then what happened is, after over a period of time, basically in America, you're not allowed to be homeless. You get arrested for this shit.
You get vagrancy in it is a criminal offence. Yeah,
vagrancy. So he was arrested for vagrancy.
And that gets the fine for not. If you don't have any money to buy somewhere to live or pay for somewhere to live, the fine for not having money is money.
Yeah, probably. Either that or drop the soap.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't drop the soap. I forgot where it was now. And anyway...
He does, you can get away by using liquid soap, it just becomes lube.
Yeah. Nowadays, prisoners are like, oh, bollocks. So anyway, but he was arrested and this hologram of Nydia appeared to him. And she used her mind ray tech to tell the guard to let him out. So basically, she'd been visiting him for a long time and she let him out. She calls the guard to let him out.
So she's been visiting him for a long time?
Over a 10-year period.
So why didn't she just let him out?
It was already out. It was already a hobo, and then he came and got arrested.
Oh right, we said like we've been visiting for years and then she used a mind ray tech to let him out. Like, you could have done that 10 years ago.
No,
What are you doing?
I don't even think America's house has been arrested for being homeless for 10 fucking years. Jeez. Anyway, Shaver got set free. He followed Nydia into the hillside where a hidden doorway appeared and transported him to the middle of the earth. Here, he met Nydia with her race called the Dero, who were in conflict with another race called the Dero. Now,
the Dero, the demons and the destruction that you had the visions of at the beginning one, I think.
Yes, that's right. So the Dero looked human, they were noble, benevolent, and the Dero were mutants, and they were the guys torturing in his vision.
So I've read as well about the Dero before, where, and it always seemed, again, that similarity comes in between tales and stories. That the Dero, like, beautiful, more or less heavenly, Nordic.
Oh yeah, the similar,
what was
angelic
the what was the Nazi word for him? Aryan.
Aryan, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Dero, like these pale, hunched, horrible little creatures. And it's like, and I remember reading about these and going, they sound like goblins.
Yeah.
Like in every fantasy novel, in every Lord of the Rings or stuff like that, it's like this is Gollum. These are goblins. These are like every Warhammer book. Or Dungeons and Dragons. It's Dero.
There's always in popular culture. There's always a point as to where you can rip off. There's never again, as I said before. There's no unique thought anymore when it comes to stories. Really, not often, unless it's 50 Shades of Grey. You know?
Doesn't promote BDSM, it must rape. Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, there's no Dero rape that I'm aware of.
No.
So anyway, the Dero looked human, were noble, benevolent. The Dero were mutants. Whilst with Nydia, he also learned to use their thought machine that was 150,000 years, and he found out that 150,000 years ago, beings colonised the earth in Atlantis and were godlike, and were settled in Atlantis and became the aliens. And in Lemuria, the Titans, they were another continent, and they created a civilization of technologically biological robots as servants. Sounds very similar to the Sumerians, in my opinion.
I said Lemuria, this is going on with Sumerians and Anunnaki.
Yeah, so the Sumerians were, they believed that the Anunnaki created humans as like a slave race.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the robot race that's been created.
Oh, robot means slave, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like a slave, effectively.
Yeah, effectively, so yeah. But at some point, the sun became really toxic for their body, so they all started going underground because the sun just started. It was too toxic eventually. Superman, on the other hand, will disagree.
Yeah.
So after they went they created loads of tunnels and cities, and eventually the sun became so degrading that both the Titans and the Atmians left. So whoever was left, they went, right, fuck this, we're going.
Well, this is the day that Atlantis wasn't a city, it was a spaceship.
Yeah, I've heard that.
There's like Atlantis didn't sink, Atlantis just went home.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, it was like a mothership that landed, and it was a metropolis inside a spaceship, and it just went away for a few years, and just went, it's getting a bit hazardous here, getting a bit toxic, we're off.
And people could only say it looked like a city because they didn't understand what it was.
Yeah, and it sank because it's no longer there. They didn't have any concept of flying and taking off, so
it disappeared under the earth.
Yeah.
Eventually the sun became so degraded to both the ALEuminati left. Some stayed behind, some ALEuminati stayed behind and were able to adapt to the sun's irradiations. But they then abandoned the slave race, called the Narrow, and became two distinct races. Then the Taro and the Dero then became two distinct races, but there was many, many more Dero than there were Taro.
Mm-hmm.
So loads of these goblins. The Taro.
So you've kind of got a ruling elite here. Then.
Yeah. So you've got all these benevolent, wonderful creatures, but there's not many of them, and there's shitloads of all these horrible bastards.
Yeah, this is kind of going back to feudal England, where you've got thousands of peasants that are dirty and filthy and uneducated, and a handful of barons and lords.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it's saying. Yes, it looks like it's talking about
the feudal system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then where did I get to? Oh yes, so distinct races. The Taro would sometimes intervene to assist humans on the surface from the Dero, because the Dero had actually got hold of all this technology and they used it for depraved purposes. So they would often use a tech to create holograms, read minds, teleport, force mankind to do whatever they fancied by like these mech skills. This included everything bad that's ever happened on the earth. So this is mass murder, shipwrecks, Jesus' crucifixion. Anything that was bad was this ray manipulation from the Dero. So anything bad that's ever happened on earth, it was a Dero that had done it. So it's like devil, everything bad.
Yeah,
devil.
I'm going to say that's going back into religious territory, because if you could say anything bad that's happened, so Hitler, the Dero did that, Pol Pot, Che Guevara, Pinochet, the Dero did that, and then you go on Jesus, the crucifixion. Well, that's religious. That's a religious tale. We don't know if Jesus actually existed or not.
But this is just another mirror of heaven and earth. You've got all these beautiful, noble things.
This is a religious tale from a modern time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, just exactly like, let's say, we Stargate SG-1. It's a wonderful, fantastic sci-fi series, but it's a modern retelling of ancient myths. It's ancient myths in a modern setting.
Yeah, of course. And then basically, it would said after the Dero would kidnap and torture humans and complete their depraved acts. So they would come to the surface like demons would.
So is this an abduction now, or?
Well, I sort of mimic this closer to being when you need to do, like a demon would take over a body.
So it's like when you get exorcism or poltergeists and...
I'd say closer to that. But
there's more paranormal activity than...
Yeah, I'd say more physical than that, yeah, so... But it's close to that from the 21st century.
I'm just name dropping future episodes when I do it, but what's the Sky Ranch or whatever it is?
Yeah, the UFO Sky Ranch, yeah. There's a ranch in America where all the UFOs keep turning up to.
And then they keep seeing like aliens and weird shit going on, like that's just Dero fucking about, because in the middle of nowhere there's a cave there that Dero's come out of, and
there's actually a guy on YouTube who actually, if I got it in the note, I'll talk about it actually.
I'm going on to a future episode. I know I mentioned that someone will probably do in the future, but that's this sounds like that's the Dero do this for not for any goal to take over mankind, just because it sounds like they do it just because it amuses them.
But when I finish this, I'm sure. I'm trying to remember now. There's a case of a guy, but let me finish this.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going in again.
Supposedly, there's a guy who this happened to. And he is saying that this is true because it happened to him. So, so basically, Shiva, a adventurist that marries Nydia, he falls in love with her, she falls in love with him, and then they get married. So again, it's this other scenario, fallen gods.
This is going back to the story you said about Z earlier.
Yeah. So fallen, again, similar. Got all these godlike creatures mating with humankind.
Yeah, similar to... I'm going to pull out Lord of the Rings, but Erwin and Aragon.
And Thor, and who was it who was cast out from heaven because he wanted to lay with the humans? Hercules, was it? Not Hercules.
No, it's not Hercules.
There's somebody else, I can't remember who it is. Mythology's not up to scratch.
Yeah, Lucifer was cast from heaven for rising up against God. I'm trying to think of, because I'm just thinking of Kevin Smith's Dogma, where it's like Loki.
Brilliant.
When Loki threw the sword down and threw his flaming sword down and gave God the finger. So he got exalted.
I just remember the shit monster.
The Gilgamesh, right? Yeah. But no, yeah. Yeah, I know there's something where they went to live, and that's how we got the Nephilim, because they're part angel, part human.
And the giants, though.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of creation myth in this, a lot of religious dogma in this. Well, not dogma, but religious theology.
All these stories I've read so far are a mimicry of...
concepts of heaven and hell, a concept of...
If you've read the Bible,
races,
this makes more sense. But after he's married Nydia anyway, he said he would have lost his mind had it not been for her to the Dero tech, because they were continually trying to get to him.
Not still there fucking with his head for the last 10 years and driving mental enforcement to leave his house and go homeless.
Or the fact that he's just married an invisible being, Anyway, but eventually...
Did he actually meet her in person, or she's still a hologram at this point that he's married?
No, he's met her.
Right.
She led him into a cave and they met up.
Right.
Anyway, eventually lots of the Dero were murdered, including Nydia, but Shiva managed to escape. The Dero, though, didn't want their existence to become known, so tormented Shiva. He said he had confusion and physical pain due to the mech rays. The 10,000 letter. This is the thing, though. So that was his discussion. But the Amazing Stories guy
that they publish,
Ray Palmer, he took it from being 10,000 words to 31,000 words.
Yeah.
So he basically tripled the size of the story.
So, the 10,000 word story, let's just say the 10,000 word story that Shiva wrote is a true and accurate account of what happened. Right?
Alright, okay, let's just pretend. Yeah.
Let's just pretend it is.
Okay.
We get to know about the story because it's in Amazing Stories. There's got an extra 21,000 words added to it.
No, the 10,000 words didn't even get to Amazing Stories. It got sent to Ray Palmer, and he turned it into...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Ray Palmer gets his 10,000 words. He gets the true and accurate account of what happened.
Yeah.
That's 10,000 words long, but publishes 31,000 word story. So he's not publishing the true and accurate account.
Correct.
So it's like, what is that? Because he just wants this is an amazing story, and I'm going to steal it and take credit for it. Because what's a homeless mental guy going to do? Who's going to believe him that I stole his story? Or is this some disinformation campaign from the Dero, bit of mind tech controlling Palmer to hide them?
If it was mind tech, they failed, because what happened is when he produced a 31,000 word book called I Remember Lemuria, which he said was a true story, which is like an embellishment of the original story.
It can't be the true story if you've added twice as many words to it than the true story's got.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe in shit English, I don't know. But what then happened is, the problem was, immediately afterwards, he received, or the Amazing Story received, thousands and thousands of letters from people saying, this is exactly what's happened to me. And it massively influenced pop culture at the same time. So, when we were talking about the Hollow Earth itself being, it's got this structure about where it's come from, because can you see where it's come from?
Yeah.
This came in as a fantasy novel, said to be fact, and then just like when we were saying last week when we saw Hitler on a tube station, saw Hitler in Japan, thousands of people said, yeah, that must be me. I'm not a bad person. I don't mean to fucking hurt people. I have got mind tech issues, and this is and I've got thousands of letters in to say the same thing's happening to me. These beings are controlling me too.
How many of them were on death row? How many of them were in prison?
I wasn't there to find the letters, to be honest.
No, I'm just saying, like, how many people have gone, this is an easy out? Or, on the other side of it, how much of this is mass hysteria? How many of these people are mentally ill, have got undiagnosed mental health conditions that we didn't know of at the time? And it's just, I've got delusions, I've got, we have...
You can't say that every single letter would have been a delusion.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to, rather than just go, I'm not going to do the History Channel Ancient Aliens thing of going, well, 10,000 people wrote in, so there's something there, that's true. But we could whittle them down.
So there would have been a percentage of those who would have been typical guys, housewives, normal people.
Yeah, they're the ones I tend to believe.
Well.
Because, you know, you're crazies, you're mentally ill, you're attention seekers, you're, what my fault, I cheated on my wife, it was a Dero. Sorry, there you are, I've proven, no, it wasn't me, you have to forgive me now. You know, there's that.
Yeah.
I'm a Yorkshireman, I'm a cynic, I believe in the worst in mankind.
Listen, I wasn't a cynic until recently, so I've got to nearly 40 and I'm a very big
so
cynic.
I can discount a lot of, even though I can't discount them, but I can kind of go, well, Lord Ramages says a big chunk of them are going to be undiagnosed mental illness, a big chunk of them are going to be people trying to get off with shit that they've done and like, or even if they don't get away with it, it eases their conscience that it wasn't me, but the day I've got an excuse for doing this now.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
It's not my fault. No, I come from a good family. My family's well off, but I'm a crackhead. It's not me. It's the Dero that made me take heroin.
What do you reckon? I don't reckon they would have got anywhere near as many letters had he said this is a work of fiction. The fact he said it was fact, and you had, if you take away all those people, you had, there must be 70 people who were normal blue collar, white collar workers, sat there going, holy shit, that mirrors what I think's happening to me.
Yeah, but is that paranoid schizophrenia? Is that depression or existential dread?
I probably think it's more of a case of, we could talk about things in the 21st century lens because it's easy to do, but back then it would be a case of there wasn't really an understanding of people's mental state or the reflection they see in the mirror.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's not the state where I say, but you know, when people think back then where they were saying, I do things that are bad, but I'm not a bad person. And when you get to that point of going, why do
I keep doing this?
I'm not a bad person, but somehow I lost my mind and cheated on my wife, and I've got regrets.
I love my wife and kids, and I work my arse off to put a roof over them. So why have I just spent $3,000 in the casino?
Yeah, and then
I can't stop gambling, and
then all of a sudden it's like, I don't get it. That's not me. And then someone goes, these Dero exist. Like, it fucking must be them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is not people.
But they're not mentally ill people.
No, I'm not saying they're mentally ill people. They're people like I said. I come from a rich family and I've got a private education and I'm well to do. So why am I a heroin addict? It must be the Dero that did it. It's not. This isn't people. What I'm saying is, it's not people writing in who believe in it or believe this is true. It's people going, this gives me an out, this gives me an explanation, this is my excuse. Like, look, it must be true because one, it's in this publication, they won't put it out if it were lies. And right at the beginning it says, this is fact.
This is true.
This explains why I've been gambling our house away, this explains why the bailiff's knocking on the door, it explains why I've cheated on you 20 odd times, it's not my fault, I can't help it. It's the same thing, you know, you can have, we see it quite often very regular to alarming regularity where we have someone who's born into a rich family, has private education, has all the fucking privilege in the world, and still becomes a heroin addict.
Yeah, because they want more.
And it's like, why did you do it? You had everything, right? You had everything. Why did you do it? Why did you throw it all away? What, me? But the Dero. It absolves you with personal responsibility.
So it's the same thing though.
It absolves you with agency, like
the Dero's the devil.
Yeah.
The tarots, the gods, you know, the angels.
It comes very simple to the devil talking on his shoulder, kind of thing.
So the weird thing is though, it's not weird. I have to take this personal thing on personal. And I'm trying to remember now this communication because this was a long time ago. So I've known about this for this is a long time. Yeah, also known as my long-term memory. I'm trying to access now, which is not very good to access.
I'm not discounting everyone that wrote in, and when he said like 10,000 people wrote in, it's like, yeah, but it's to me it's not 10,000 believers writing in.
Oh no,
it's 10,000 people going, I'm absolved of personal responsibility, I'm absolved of...
Look honey, I did it because these guys exist and I'm really fucking sorry.
We have it today, where even now social media is fucking horrible for it's made it worse, but we absolve each other of, well they don't absolve each other, people try to absolve themselves of personal responsibility or it's not my fault, it's fake news, it's not... I don't have any agency. It's not that I didn't work hard enough. It's that this company doesn't hire black people, or this company doesn't hire women, or you know. It's like where's the when you stop being who you are and what you are. No, when you stop being what you are and who you are. Like, who I am is a hard-working, ambitious, creative guy. What I am is white and straight. So when does what I am start being more important than who I am?
That's true. Yeah.
So it's that, but when I allow what I am to define who I am, then I'm absolved of personal responsibility. I'm absolved of agency. No matter what I've done in my life, or what actions I've taken, mean nothing. It's not my fault. I didn't get this job because I'm white and straight and they're only hiring black gay people. It's diversity and political correctness gone mad, you know. But you see that on both, and I've put that out on both sides because you see it. I'm attacking both, like the left and the right, on social media. That we always have the other and the them, and it's not. This is not my fault. It's, you know, Daily Mail, like, you know, we economies tanking, we're struggling to get jobs. No, it's immigrants coming in. It's immigrants coming in. Oh, do you know what? I know I'm on Dole and I'm drinking fucking 10 pints of special brew a day. But it's not my fault. It's that Boris Johnson letting all those fucking immigrants in. If it weren't for those immigrants, I'd have a job now.
Yeah.
Because you've got something to blame. You can remove yourself from personal responsibility and remove yourself with agency.
100%. 100% agree.
That's why I'm pointing it with the mentally ill and stuff like that. I see, like, how many of these 10,000 letters are people who believe, and how many people are going, that helps me.
Yeah.
That's why my life's shit.
I think more that.
Yeah.
But there was one. This is going to be quite loose, and if I can find a link to the video, because it was a while ago now, I'll get Badger to put it in the description below so you can have a watch. But there's it's going to be so thinly veiled. This is so thin now.
Go on.
But there's a guy in America who said he woke up to find one of the Dero that had like a long nose, not quite an elephant's nose, but had like a long nose, demon-like, trying to take him, and then a doorway opened and the Terror appeared with a roar of a lion. You could hear the roar of a lion. The Dero shit its pants, fucking grabbed it through the door and saved his life. And he's got this personal account of what happened to him. And honestly, if I could find it, I'll stick it in.
My first thought then is this is two ancient civilizations that have hid their existence from human beings for millennia.
Yeah.
Why are you so fucking special?
Chance? No, but the thing is, look,
why are you so special that Dero's going to come rip you out your bed?
But why would you tell it to the President of the United States, though? You're going to do it under the radar, though, aren't you? You're not going to put your presence to...
So then if he's taking them nobody, so no one can take crack.
Yeah.
Why are the Terror even showing themselves to save him? Wouldn't it just be let him go and let him get eaten, because then they don't know we exist?
No,
they're not bothering us.
According to this, because the Terror are benevolent and they're trying to save the human race, they'll turn up whenever they can. So it's like, again, it's the angel versus demon scenario. Now, I'll try, again, we'll try to link the video before. You can have a quick, it's about 20-minute video if I remember.
Mm-hmm. But get me the link to it, I'll pop it in the description as well.
But you'll be happy to know that was my prehistory science fiction over now.
Mm-hmm.
So I have finished in my opinion, I just thought it was really important to go, let's look at some popular culture, let's look at some books, let's look at some science before we got to the point of where I think we're about to go.
Yeah.
So then I think I know where we're going to probably go next, because we talked about
creation and origin,
pop culture, and some
fiction,
books. And without knowing for certain, I think we're probably going to bottleneck into only one way next, and that's Admiral Byrd.
Yeah, because to me this is the biggest. I don't know. I suppose you could argue Jules Verne's Journey's the Centre of the Earth, but for me, Admiral Byrd is the biggest proponent of Hollow Earth theory in modern time.
Agreed.
I don't think I couldn't find anything after 1947 other than people who have written books, and these books are just kind of rehashing what's gone before and just telling it in their way. So I think the last major event we had, or the last encounter, was Admiral Byrd. I think I'm right in saying that.
You were? Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think any book that's come after that has kind of been what Admiral Byrd said, or trying to put all these bits together and make sense of it and stuff. No one's come out and gone, I went into the Hollow Earth
Yes, I think so. I mean, there's some things I'd like to come on to after we talk about Admiral Byrd, but I think Admiral Byrd now is going to deserve at least half an hour of our time.
Yeah, so basically in 1947, Admiral Richard Byrd organised Operation High Jump, which was simple objective to construct an American training and research facility in the South Pole.
Yes.
Right? Now, some say the American government sent their troops to the South Pole to find evidence of the rumoured German base 211.
Yes.
Which is going to be a future episode.
We'll do Operation High Jump another day.
Yeah. But we've kind of touched on, we're going to go more detail into it at some point, we'll go into it, but we kind of touched on it today with the Thule Society and what the Nazis were after at the South Pole and stuff. So basically, as we mentioned earlier, Hitler and Goering kind of bought into this Thule Society and went after this power.
Yeah.
And America went, fuck, we better go chase them down. So it was like, the official story is they went to construct an American training and research facility, where a lot of people believe that was the cover story for cut up those Nazi bastards now. Because we don't really believe this power exists, but if it does...
Can we have it, please?
We need to not let them have it. So the Nazis were fascinated with anything regarding the Aryan race. They travelled all over the world, including Antarctica, to learn more of alleged origins. This is what I find interesting. So we spoke about Hollow Earth today and origins and creationists and myths and all that lot. There's a word that pops up here that hasn't popped up in any of the things we've talked about already.
Okay.
And in my notes here it says, and this is a note I wrote down, and I did copy and paste this note, I'll be honest, because I just like the quote. But, actually no, why, because I didn't want to get the spelling wrong. That's why I wrote it down. But for thousands of years, people all over the world have written legends about Agartha.
Well...
Sometimes called Agartha or Agarthi, the underground city. And it's like, well, the site I got this from, where this account of Admiral Byrd says like for 1,000 years people have written about Agartha, but it never popped up in any of my research before.
Well,
and you've never mentioned that either, unless the Dero, the Thero, what are the other ones?
Well, I'll show you because
yeah, and I'll put that'll be up on screen right now. But the Thero were the other ones, what are they?
The Dero,
Dero, yeah. So is Agartha the Tero's home city?
No, because Shambhala is being a discussion of Buddhism. You had so they wholeheartedly believe. I thought this might be a different topic, but the Buddhists genuinely believed in Agartha. They believed.
Oh, so it has been for thousands of years then.
Yeah, so it's part of Buddhism that. Not all of Buddhism, of course, but they all believe that Shambhala, city of Shambhala, was like this big city in the middle of like Shangri-La, I think it was actually. But and it's part of many religious texts. I think in Hindu, was it called a I don't want to mispronounce it.
Actually, you just call it Shambhala, is what it is.
Shambhala, yeah. Shambhala.
Is that in Marvel's Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
When he goes, what's this, my mantra? And he goes, no, it's the Wi-Fi password, not savages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the Wi-Fi password is Shambhala.
Yeah. And Patala, Hindu Patala as well, they talk about the same thing. So you've got Buddhists and Hindus, I guess they're not far away from each other really. But they both talk about the same thing of this inner earth city and inner earth species within their religion.
Right.
So it was... Agartha was the name it was given.
Admiral Byrd calls it Agartha.
Yeah.
But it actually says it's sometimes called Agartha or Agarthi. It's the underground city. But like the picture we've just put up on screen there is Agartha, one part of Shambhala.
Well, Shambhala's a city within Agartha.
Yeah. Oh, Agartha is somewhere around there. Also, because Byrd calls Agartha the city. He calls Agartha the underground city.
Unless
maybe
Shambhala's
that's
the capital of the city.
Yeah, or maybe that's lost in translation between the races when he spoke to them.
Either way, Byrd is on another level, so let's we're splitting hairs here, so...
Yeah, so he goes on and says that he met the master the city's leader, who told him of his concerns about the surface world.
Shall we go back about what happened first, before we start talking about what he did?
Yeah.
I think...
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about
I've lost
that.
a big bit of my notes here. So apparently, he was doing recon for the location to build this training facility.
Yep.
And as he was out flying, his instrument started going a bit mental. He's losing like magnetic compass and losing the altitude meter and stuff.
And then the base completely lost communication.
Yeah, the base lost communication, couldn't find him. And then it was like hours later, he popped back up again or something.
About 2 hours, yeah.
2 hours later.
So when it left, it left the base camp in the Arctic on 19th February 1947, and then everything was going as normal, wasn't it? And then he was flying, just general flight, trying to get out as far as he could to see what he could see.
Yeah, trying basically looking down and seeing, like, just reconnaissing the landscape and going, that's a decent spot for the base. Rather than walking out here for 4 days, he's out there, go fly for 2 hours. It's fuck all in that direction, mate. That's it. Well, that saved us 5 days trudging through the snow. But fly out to the left tomorrow and see what's out that way,
But we need to be careful, because this will take it back. Before we explain what's being seen, this report basically comes from his diary, which I believe was found after he died.
Yes, but there's also a television appearance from him.
Well, he's talking about coal deposits and stuff.
He's talking about coal deposits and stuff, but he's talking about Antarctica being rich and wonderful. But the story of Hollow Earth it doesn't mention on TV. But it does speak about Antarctica being this rich mineral land, and I think it talks about green lands and stuff in there.
It's been a long time since I've seen that video.
Yeah,
but I think you're right. But this all comes from his diary.
Mm-hmm.
So this wasn't an official report that he put out to any news media. This was a diary that was found after he died.
Yeah, I mean the story is that he put that report in, and he came out, put his report, like, basically where the fuck he been for 2 hours. He put his report in, and it got silenced. When he went up the chain of command and got shut down. He got a visit from a superior who should never even know he exists, let alone come speak to him. But they travelled across the country to come speak to him, and basically said, "You saw nothing. You didn't do well. If this comes out, you're screwed," kind of thing. And made whatever threats they made. And then after he died, I think his son found his diary. Like he wrote the report, put it in, and got silenced. So wrote a diary and kept it secret to be found after his death, kind of thing. To go like, "No, I'm dead. I can put my story out there. You can't stop me."
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think we're right.
Yeah, which to me adds a bit of credence to the story, because it's a guy who wants to tell his tale, but scared to tell it. But after I'm dead, there you go. I'm gone. You can't do no.
Or alternatively, he could have put it out before he died, but it's like, I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah. Might be scared of getting killed. Dying, but
he was already dying, wasn't he? So
yeah. But
anyway, please continue.
Yeah. So he flew out on this recon mission to sort of like find a place to build a permanent base, because they're kind of stuck trekking and temporary base at this point. And into the flight, I can't remember how long into the flight it was, but his compass and his altimeter and all that lot starts going mental. He tries contacting the base, but they can't hear it from him. And then, if I remember, because I've not wrote it in my notes, because I'm an idiot, didn't 2 ships come up? He started passing over green fields with mammoths woolly mammoths in them.
Yeah, so I've got...
The snow stopped with the green fields with woolly mammoths in them, I think.
Yeah, so I took his entire log.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to read. So at 7:30 in the morning, he checked with base camp, his radio was okay. He said that about 7:40, he said there's a slight oil leak, but everything's okay. And then we flew. Bit of turbulence, radar checks were all okay. Again, a bit more turbulence, talking about snow and ice, getting back to base camp, there's no issues. But then, about 9:10, his magnetic and gyro compass starts to wobble. They can't really hold the heading. And then he talks about 9:15 or so on, and he starts seeing the mountains. And then he said at 9:49, first set of the mountains is no illusion. They are mountains and consisting of small ranges I've never seen before. It starts to change his altitude. And then he started saying that he got to 10 o'clock and his gyroscope had completely gone off. It was just spinning everywhere. It's like there's no magnetic north or south anymore. He got to 10:30 and they said, we're encountering more green hills. The external temperature now reached 74 degrees.
It's fucking hot.
Yeah. Navigational instruments seem normal and puzzled over their reactions. Attempt to contact base, but radio's not functioning. So they've lost access to camp base. So a couple of hours after flight, they've completely lost contact. So this is kind of where we get to your story now.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled up a quote here that what about this diary was discovered after he died, and there's a quote on the front of his diary that I just have to find then, where it just says, there comes a time when the rationality of men must fade into insignificance, and one must accept the inevitability of the truth. I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation at this writing. Perhaps it shall never see the light of public scrutiny, but I must do duty and record here for all to read one day. In a world of greed and exploitation of mankind can no longer suppress that which is truth. That was the opening statement on his diary.
We'll talk about that after we've talked about what happened there.
So he's flying over these green fields. He's seeing woolly mammoths and stuff in there.
Crazy to think.
Yeah, and then these
no contact with base.
No, can't contact base at all. It's like just literally jammed. It's not like just his radio's jammed, but his gyroscope's going mentally. His compasses, everything's. They're struggling to navigate at this point. They're navigating by sight, and then two craft come alongside them. Two flying saucers come alongside them, and guide them into a hole, which is sounding very familiar now. And he goes down to the hole and he goes into the hollow earth, where he sees the city of Agartha, sorry. That's why I wrote it down so I didn't mispronounce it. And he says he met the master, who's the city's leader, and told him he was concerned about the surface world. And he wrote...
Can you tell me what accent this leader had?
A Yorkshire one.
He spoke in a German dialect.
He's speaking a German dialect? This is like
it's a Nazi.
This is a fool. So was it a Nazi speaking to him, or?
Well, it's someone in a German dialect. It's someone in a German dialect, so German accent was speaking to him.
Right. And apparently they said, our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the Flugelrads, which sounds very German, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race wars and barbarity, but now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for your man, mainly that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the power of your world, and yet they do not heed. So this is...
I'm sorry, right, I don't give a shit. If I am Prime Minister of Britain, of England, President of the United States, Prime Minister of Russia, if an alien race comes out of my earth and goes, I've got fucking
stop.
I'm not going to go, fuck you. I'm going to go, who the fuck are these guys? You know, the first thing I'm not going to do is go, bollocks to you. Where have you been this for the last 2,000 years? I'm going to go, what? Who are you? What have you got? Why do you speak German?
To be fair, following on from that message and your logic, no one ever dropped the bomb again.
Well, the Tsar bomb got dropped.
The what one?
The Tsar bomb, the biggest atomic bomb in the world by the Russians.
That would test it, wasn't it? It wasn't dropped on a population.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They've gone. It's not like, as I don't know who the
they've gone. You've got this power. You shouldn't have. It's not meant for your man.
Well, fuck you. We've got the Tsar bomb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or we've continued to create. I mean, there's Operation Star Wars, which was about space race and space weapons. It's not like we stopped creating weapons.
Well, the head of Iran's nuclear program got assassinated the other week. You know, we're still making nuclear bombs now.
So it's not like anyone's gone.
Oh shit, best stop. Yeah, no.
We've got a technologically advanced alien race in the centre of the earth telling us to please fucking stop. It's like no one stopped.
No. I think when we dropped the bomb, when we got it, let's say this warning happened, and they've approached, because he says here, our emissaries have already delivered message to the power of your world, and yet they do not heed. So let's say that actually happened, right? That happened at a time when we had, what, 4, maybe 5 nuclear bombs in the world?
I just checked, the SAR bomb was dropped on the 30th of October 1961, which is the biggest bomb ever dropped.
Yes, there we go, yeah. Right, so, but this warning came in 1947.
So no one gives a shit.
And they said, oh, we've warned you already, and the powers of your world have ignored us. So what, let's say, 40, when were Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
47, 45? No, 45.
45, yeah. Right? So 45, so we told them in 45, and it's 2 years later, the answer we're coming to you now. We had like, what, 4 or 5 nuclear bombs in the world at that point?
No, we had hundreds, but...
Well, we have hundreds. How many do we have today?
8. Right, this could be wrong, but I thought I read we've got 18,000.
So we've obviously listened to this warning then.
But let's be honest, the nuclear bomb is the public bomb.
Yeah.
We've got so much more technology that we don't, like Trident. We've got all these nuclear weapons going to throw into each other. Well, actually, that's what we know about. There's going to be all sorts of shit.
Yeah. I know there's a international treaty to not weaponise space.
That bullshit, you know.
Yeah, I think it was 3 times we found out Russia's broken that, I think. And,
listen,
and if Russia's broken, you can guarantee America has.
As far as I'm concerned, if Tony Stark can put bombs in space...
But no, it's just, yeah, this is... And I think atomic energy is that scary thing. At the time, we've just seen what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We've just
Cold War starting, everything.
Yeah, atomic energy, like, this might be Admiral Byrd going, I'm shit scared of what we've just dropped. Like, we shouldn't be able to wipe out an entire city in one bomb.
You shouldn't.
That is ridiculous power. There's no one. I don't care how just and right your president is and who was elected, or how our monarch is the monarch of the UK is born by God-given right, does not give you the power to wipe an entire fucking city off the map for 1,000 years.
I agree.
But yeah, apparently he got this message, and then he spent a bit of time there, like an hour or so there, and he saw that there's this giant sun in the middle, and there's different areas off around it. There's like Agrathar, there's different cities and pastures and farms and stuff in there, and yeah, he came back and wrote this tale, to which he said, March 11th, 1947, he says, I've just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I've stated fully my discovery and the message from the Master. All is duly recorded. The President is being advised. I've now retained for several hours, 6 hours 39 minutes to be exact. I'm interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal. I am placed under strict control by the national security officials of this United States of America. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. Incredible. I'm reminded that I'm a military man and I must obey orders. So he's saying, I said all this, and I got my message. I came back and delivered it, and I've been told to remind that I'm assuming there that there's a lot more threat than you're a military man. I'm sure there's threats that you're a family man and you've got grandkids or whatever. So it was. I'm going to get here where he got into, just past there.
So I'm reading the same as you on the March 9th.
Yeah, so according to the Master, places such as Tibet, the Great Pyramid of Giza and the North Pole all have tunnels leading to Agartha. What else did Byrd teach? What else did Master teach Byrd? What else did Operation Iceberg? Yeah, there's another thing there. Yeah, that's basically the end of that article there that I had saved.
There's a line which I think, which I believe Admiral Byrd was fear-mongering at the time to make the world listen, because the one line in his log, which has always got me, I've known about this log for many, many years, which everyone would have known, but I'm only of a certain age, of course. It's simply at 2:15, just a simple word is, as they've left Agartha, or not Agartha, but they've left this race and they've gone back in the poles. A radio message comes through saying, we are leaving you now, Admiral. Your controls are free, or feed us in. So,
Why's the Alvida saying at the end of it?
Why are aliens speaking German? So for me, I think that you might have a different idea, but I don't know Byrd, right? And I don't know what he got to, and I don't know. It could have been a military man to the end, but that one line has always said to me that this seems to me to be a propaganda scare job. That we've just come out of a world war, we've now got aliens who speak German in the earth who are warning mankind to go to peace. So
also, let's put into point that I want to bring a point that television, that the television show I've seen, where he's talking about vast coal deposits and Antarctica can fuel America for generations.
And he thinks it'll be the next big
exploration, and then maybe they've gone, oh, nah, we're not going there. There's no there, we're not going to bother. And he's got, the Germans are there. There's an alien race there, and they speak German, and like, fuck, that means the Germans have got there already. Is it that the aliens are saying Auf Wiedersehen because they think that's the language of humans?
Because they met the Germans already.
Because they met the Germans already. And learnt their language, so they're saying the language of humans, but they don't realise it's the language of nations. So then, is that causing fear where it's like, America won't going to bother going, but now they have to go, now they've got to be seen to be going, because the Germans have got there first, and if there is all this coal, then we can power America for generations. Why would we just sit back and let the Germans have it?
So, it's a tough one, because there's my mind has got so many things going on at the same time, so now we're talking about this, but to try and bring a couple of thoughts to the fore is, when Byrd went there at the end of the Second World War in 1947, if anybody believes that Nazism had stopped at that point, they were complete. It was still really, really.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke in last week's episode. We talked about did Hitler go to Argentina, where just the story of him escaping to Argentina created a rise in Nazism in Allied occupied Berlin after the war. Like, Nazism became stronger under Allied rule because like Hitler's there, he's going to come back. So why would you put out there that the Nazis? Oh, well, big fact the Nazis they're over. They're the one. They're not. And then Byrd's going. They're at the South Pole. Exactly. They're speaking to aliens.
So if we're looking at there's two trains of thoughts, but the main train of thought for me is, look at Byrd as a military man. We're just checking something.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that red light.
So. Oh, okay, we're still recording. Yeah. Just so you know, it's happened before. We've been talking for ages and it's fucking stopped.
Yeah. We haven't recorded the last fucking hour. Bollocks! I tried to do it on the slide. You're not supposed to point it out. We're professionals. Well, professional fucking drunks. But yeah, carry on.
That's fucking true. So, I'm a 21st century cynic.
Yeah.
Okay? And if I look at the military establishment of the 40s and 50s, I see this as a plant. And the reason I see this as a plant was, end of the Second World War, before the start of the Cold War, was the Second World War's over, but Nazis exist, but they don't just exist now. You've got to be fearful because they don't just exist, but they exist with a race of people who are supposedly benevolent, but they've got the ability to wipe out humankind.
Yeah.
And they've been in contact with them. They speak German. We've got to be careful. So the cynical part of me, it's just that line for me every single time. Auf Wiedersehen. Why the fuck would an alien say Auf Wiedersehen?
There's a bit, going to tie into what you said, there's a bit where he makes his status where he says he went to the Pentagon and he was reminded that he's a military man.
Two things, yeah.
Right? I was reminded I'm a military man. And I think, like, well, just going back, just what I thought that we were talking then, right, was that Reynolds went on an expedition to Antarctica, but missed joining out in the Great US Exploring Expedition in 1838 to 1842. No real record was got of America going back there since. Is Byrd putting this out there and creating some German fearmongering so America has to go back. Like the guy there, he's got out there. He's put this out there. We're gonna go to Antarctica. We're gonna find coal. We're gonna find amazing deposits. Get out there. And there's not there. And it's going fuck if we go back empty-handed. I'm gonna like a laughing stock.
Well, I don't know. He talks about fucking fighting alien spaceships and all that.
Yeah, but I'm going to get to that in a bit. But Germans have been there. They said, Wiedersehen, Germans have been there. Like we have to go. Like, no matter if you think this is economically viable or if you think we'll get any scientific knowledge out of this, anything. But the Germans are there. You can leave the entire continent to the Germans. Because you saw what they did in Germany. Well, sorry, not the Germans, sorry, the Nazis. So that you see what they're doing in Germany, and we've taken that back. But you're going to leave them for 10 years and let them rebuild in Antarctica with this massive power that they've got from this alien race, and it might be bollocks and stupid and sound ridiculous, but can you take that chance?
That's also a good idea. So yeah, I mean,
does he create his own propaganda to create his own fleet, his own exploration?
I'm certain that
is he wanting to complete the great US exploration of 1842?
I'm certain that we've had. Trying to cast my mind back now, a pub chat about this before, and I don't know how long ago it was.
But many pub chats.
Yeah, but did you say, either I'm making this up and it's my own thought, but I'm applying it to your thought, but did you say...
If it's intelligent, I'll take credit for
it. It might be. But did you say that potentially Admiral Byrd could have made this up because of hypoxia?
This was going to be the point I was going to bring up next.
Right, yeah, so.
This is the point I was going to bring up. We have had this pub chat. Yeah. We have had this pub chat where my argument was, I saw this, he said, I think part of it is German propaganda. Not German propaganda, but Admiral Byrd propaganda, because he wants to explore Antarctica and how do you get the American army to explore Antarctica when it's skint from from World War II? Well, you tell the Germans are there. And we have to go find them. Right, well, fuck, we're not having that. Let's go get those fucking Nazi bastards. But I think my other side of thought was he loses radio contact with the base for a couple of hours, and I could put that down to the technology, the time, and the weather conditions on Antarctica. If snowstorms whipped up or something, or it doesn't take. When we think of like massive winds, we live in cities, buildings disrupt and block the wind all the time. Antarctica is vast open plains. If you go, you get a little breeze in the city, and then you get a little breeze up on the Dales. It's fucking massive wind. Takes off your feet because there's no to stop it and block it. Our buildings and our houses, we don't realise how much it affects the wind day to day. So you've got a little bit of wind can create a big massive storm that could fuck with his radio and interfere. You've got snow and everything going everywhere. The temperature at the time is quite low. If I'm right in thinking, the oxygen stinger.
I don't know, but
the height he's flying at, with the technology he's got. I don't have we have like
pressurized cabins and stuff.
Yeah, we have pressurized cabins, but we have like even you see in like war movies like Top Gun and shit like when they have F-22 jets or the American fighter jets, whatever they're using today. The pilots have oxygen masks on.
Yeah.
Because they're travelling so fast at such G-force, at such a height that the cabin's not pressurised, so they have to wear an oxygen mask to stop hypoxia. Byrd didn't have that in 1947. Cabins weren't pressurised in 1947. I don't think they had oxygen masks in 1947. Or if they did, a very limited supply of oxygen. I think I remember in World War II, the only pilots that wore oxygen masks were in the British forces anyway, were Lancaster bombers. They were the bomber crews because they flew so high. Spitfire pilots didn't.
I'm not because I don't know.
Yeah, okay. But like Lancaster bombers and stuff flew so much higher up that they wore oxygen masks, but they only had enough oxygen to get there and back. Now, could his oxygen fail? Could his tank have got a leak?
Did he have somebody else in the cabin with him?
Yeah, but if you're both in the cabin.
But would you both report the same story?
With no evidence that his co-pilot reported the story. I don't know if there was someone in the cabin with him. There's never a mention of a second.
I think there was two. Then there was someone who was in the cabin with him. So if you both got hypoxia, either you kneel to your superior, and you fucking report.
I would have a fucking. I couldn't see that. That must be my superior. So that must be.
I've eaten 8 mushrooms and 4 tabs and fucked.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah, I think a lot of it could be the green lands and the mammoths and the alien ships coming up and going into this wonderful technological city and speaking to the master.
Sounds like he's on a DMT run to me.
Sounds like he's having fucking some kind of trip from oxygen blackout.
And do you know what? That's as plausible.
And I'm saying oxygen blackout because we tend to see a lot of the time, and I'm going back to stuff science can't explain and stuff, but when people are near death, they have the light, the tunnel, and near-death experiences are floating outside the body. And that light in the tunnel, I'm not going to go spiritualisation or religious stuff, but that light at the end of the tunnel is being described similar to pilots under immense G-force. When they start blacking out, you don't just like go in, you're out. It blacks in and becomes like you get tunnel vision, and it blacks in and goes to like a pinpoint and then you're out. And the idea is that when you're dying and your brain's being starved of oxygen, you're seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. It's actually you're looking at the fucking lights above you on the surgeon's table, and it's your vision blocking out.
Well, the other thing that I heard is when you're dying, or in your deathbed, or you're about to die, is your body gets flooded with DMT. And
the idea is the natural reaction, your body floods itself with DMT so you can't feel pain.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, if you die, you die.
Yeah.
Right? But if you are genuinely close to death, you naturally
and brought back at the last minute.
But DMT has flooded your body.
You've been on some psychedelic trip.
Anybody who's taken synthetic DMT, we're talking, I mean, I don't know, I've never done it, but Joe Rogan, Mike Tyson,
Graham Hancock goes on about, he doesn't go about synthetic, he goes about Ananushka or...
the Alaska tribe,
Yeah, that's...
from the plant.
That's organic DMT, it's not synthetic DMT.
Anybody who's taken it will tell you that once your body gets... Because it's natural to the body.
Yeah.
It's not this compound you're bringing in that your body doesn't know. Actually, your body creates it in stress. So, if you get to the position, I'm trying to buy into your scenario.
Yeah. If you've got hypoxia, you're blacking out, you're short on oxygen, you're nearly oxygen death, which is brain dead.
So your body goes, I'm going.
But I go, we're going, you know, this is not going to hurt, fucking, there you go.
You still got a level of consciousness. You could see, I mean, Joe Rogan's talked about he's seen a being. Mike Tyson's talked about, like, going to this realm.
Joe Rogan said that he doesn't believe in God, but he's seen God.
Yeah, so...
He don't believe in God, but he saw God once.
And all these amazing geometric shapes and the colours and stuff that you can't describe. So, what's to say that you get into a state of hypoxia, you get flooded with DMT.
A sudden sense of euphoria and serenity around you.
Yeah.
And you see this, you're looking for somewhere to land, you're looking for somewhere to put your base, and then so you see a city, this wonderful, amazing city with heavenly beings and who are giving us this message, and you disagree with atomic power, you disagree with the atomic bomb.
That's your inertial thought.
Your inner thought is telling you that atomic power is wrong, and this master is telling you to go give this.
Is that's within the realms of plausibility for me?
That's more plausible for me than a couple of flying saucers took him into the earth and spoke German.
So
let's look at this here. So let's just say he's got hypoxia and his body's flooded with DMT and he's tripping his balls off, right?
Lucky man.
Right, let's look at the facts of his story. He's hunting for Germans. The cover story is the making a base, but the actual real story allegedly is that they're hunting for Germans. He finds an alien race that says I'll be the same and speaking a German dialect. He's euphoric, he's looking for a place to land and a place where they can build a permanent base. He finds this wonderful, majestic city. He's at the point of death almost, and he sees a heavenly being that talks to him. This is a near-death experience. He disagrees with dropping the atomic bomb, and this heavenly being tells him that they're there to warn. And they've warned the leaders of the world and they've ignored us, but atomic power is not meant for man.
But as we said before, the leaders of the human race have completely ignored this special alien race that lives in the earth.
We've got more bombs than ever.
We've got a big SAR bomb we're going to drop in 1960s, the biggest bomb we've ever dropped.
So to me it's just, this is this is a lot of things that we can tell about Admiral Byrd's personality in his position on certain policies and actions that will come out through a fucking DMT trip.
I think that is possibly. I don't know him and I don't know.
No, but I think that's a more sound explanation that there is.
And he wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
He
So
wouldn't know about
if he's
it,
gone through hypoxia and he's gone through this scenario of having a DMT trip, because he didn't synthetically take it, he wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Many people have had near death experiences and said they've seen God, seen the pearly gates, floated above the body, had out of body experiences. Quite possibly, but in most occasions I would say, I'm not against spirituality.
I mean, there's a thing that let's say you've seen heavenly bodies and it's a religious experience of meeting the master.
But that's a projection of the thought
process. That's a projection of the thought process.
Yeah,
like these thought that the Bible, like not much taken literally, is the burning bush where God speaks to Moses.
It's burnt the bush with DMT.
Yeah, it's the Ananushka bush or whatever it's called, and there was smoke in it. They were burning the bush, and that's how we saw God and spoke to God. That's an actual. There's a lot of growing weight behind that position right now. In the world today, it's like that. Oh yeah, what a bush that set on fire and spoke to Moses. Moses was burning the bush and saw God.
Well, the other thing is, the bush that, when naturally burned, has got DMT chemicals in. And whether or not he knew it or not, the one's burning bush, inhaling chemicals of DMT, and had an ayahuasca trip.
Yeah, then he comes with the 10 Commandments and shit. But,
you project whatever you feel.
But he gets a message from one of the 10 Commandments and what, but he got a message from, I don't know, Moses. Moses was burning bush.
Oh, he was.
But it's not the 10 Commandments, he went to the mountain to the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, because he came back to the false idols.
But he got a message from God on that, but would that be Moses' morality and Moses' thoughts?
I assume so.
And God's just telling them and reinforcing like a confirmational bias.
Reinforcing his own thought process.
Yeah, which is similar to where, Admiral Byrd is against atomic power. And he's having this DMT trip and this higher heavenly beings telling him that man shouldn't wield atomic power. Yeah. It's, it's very similar. You put the two side by side, they're very similar stories.
Shall we read his final entry?
Yeah.
So we'll discuss his final entry then. So Richard Byrd, to the end, I think he believed what happened in 1947 because he said in his final entry, I'll just read this last two paragraphs. He said, these last few years elapsed since 1947 I've not been kind. I know my final entry is a singular diary. In closing, I must state that I have faithfully kept this matter secret as directed all these years. It's been completely against my values or moral rights. Now, I seem to sense a long night coming, basically
death, yeah.
And on this secret will not die with me. And he put secret with a capital S. But as truth shall, it will triumph, and so it shall. This can be the only hope for mankind with a capital N. So I don't know what's capitalising things, but I've seen the truth and it's quickened my spirit with a capital S. Has set me free. I have done my duty towards the monstrous military-industrial complex. Now the long night begins to approach. There shall be no end. Just as the long night of the Arctic ends, the brilliant sunshine of truth shall come again, and those who are of darkness shall fall into light. For I have seen the land beyond the pole, the centre of the great unknown. And he said 24th December 1956, that was his last diary insert, if you believe that he put these inserts in himself.
Well, I was just going to bring up there where he said why he capitalised stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at his stem from March 11, 1947 here that I've got up. And he capitalised his staff meeting in Pentagon, which is correct to the president. But then it puts, I'm interviewed attended by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal with 4 exclamation marks. And then he puts, I am, then all capitals, ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the incredible behalf of humanity, 3 exclamation marks, incredible, it capitalised the incredible, exclamation mark, I remind I am military man in lowercase. So that why he wrote, he has this weird way of writing, so he wrote, ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on behalf of humanity, all in caps. And then he puts, it was an ordeal with 4 exclamation marks behind it. So
can I ask anybody else to write a diary? I've never written one. Right? And I'm assuming you've probably never written one. Not a personal diary.
No.
But for people who do, anyone who writes a personal diary, genuine personal truth, because they don't expect anybody else to read it, because for them.
Yeah, to me, if you're putting it was an ordeal and 4 exclamation marks.
You would embellish, surely, on what the ordeal was, because in your personal diary you're writing to yourself.
Yeah.
But
he wasn't. I'll disagree with him, because I don't think he was writing his diary as a personal diary that was never to be read by someone. He was writing his personal diary to be found after he died.
So why didn't you just expose the truth? It's dead, what's it matter?
Yeah, it's that thing where it's like, it goes back to, I'm reminded Neil Armstrong, where there's a famous press conference where he talks about onions.
That's after it's like completely fucking emotionless. After the moon on it.
Yeah, and he says like the layers of truth will be peeled away one by one, or something like that. And he's like, well, why didn't you declare everything you knew when you died?
Yeah.
Or just before you died, you know, he kind of like, it was near the end of his life then, and he kind of like tried dropping hints and...
That's different when you're alive, but in a personal diary which no one's ever seen before, so they don't know anyone exists. If I was writing a diary, in a typical sense, typical people go, this is my day, this is how I feel.
Yeah, I don't think this was a diary that was written from a personal sense. I think this was a diary that was maybe written on the day, but he wrote it knowing this is going to be found when I'm dying. This is because he keeps talking about the truth.
So why not expose the truth then?
Because he's a military man, he's been ordered not to, and he's scared to. So, but he keeps mentioning quite a few times in his diary entry that the truth as it shall be out, or the truth as it out shall be heard.
But if he doesn't have it, who will?
Yeah, I think he's just writing it to be found later.
For me, this is the biggest. For me, this final entry is a thing that debunked his own diary.
That final entry doesn't sound like it's written by him.
It feels to me, if he wrote his final entry, it debunks everything he's written before. Because I know that on my deathbed, unless my family are going to be fucking assassinated, I don't know the conversation.
Yeah.
Before, but if I had a big secret on my deathbed and I'd gone to the point of writing the diary knowing I was going to die, because that's what it basically says. That I just expose the truth after my death, going, I've died.
Yeah,
I'm not fearful anymore. Here's the truth.
I think we said this before. I think we said this on the Beatles one, where like, if you're on your deathbed and you die, then
you've got nothing to fear. Death's the biggest fear, right? So what do you have to fear now?
So when you go like, right, I want the fucking fucking scribe, I want the notarizer, so I can fucking sign. I'm going to dictate everything. I'm going to write it all down word for word. I'm going to sign it. That guy's going to legally notarize it, say this was the truth. It's essentially a fucking affidavit right now. I want the video camera there and 2 reporters that I trust. This is my story. This is my truth. And like, said it all. See ya. Bye. Off I go. Like, oh no, Byrd couldn't have the diary, but wouldn't it have? He's going to write this diary to be left to be found.
That's my legacy.
Your legacy to be left there. And let's say he's worried that his granddaughter's going to get murdered or his kid's going to get murdered if he comes out with this.
Yeah.
So he's not worried about his life, he's worried about his loved ones. Then wouldn't you put this diary were left for his son to find and publish? Wouldn't you put that diary with a lawyer?
He might have done. He might have another one. This might be an excerpt.
Yeah, when you go
there's 9 years missing with them.
Yeah, when you go when it's certain or when if my son dies, this comes out and this is here's a sign affidavit of me. This is my last will and testament. Like this is my sworn some kind of legal document.
Or a video of anything.
Yeah.
So for me, I personally think his last final entry, whilst antagonistic, is also debunking.
Do you not find the language a bit too flowery as well?
I find it different to his, and I know people can.
No, but that final one, and some of his language before as well in his entries, are just a bit too flowery. It's like he's trying to write as Tolkien rather than Byrd. You know, like you were saying in a diary, you write how I feel and how I know it. And it was like, this is a truth not to be held by man, and this is, and the truth will be out, and although the truth will be set free, it's like, you won't write that. feel like this is a truth and it has to be told on.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? It's a bit flowery, a bit Shakespearean almost.
Agreed. It feels fake to me.
Yeah.
It feels fake, and I think if he wrote it, that he basically, the way I'm reading this, it doesn't read like a personal diary. It reads like someone's.
It reads like someone's trying to write Tolkien.
Yeah, I think so.
It
feels
like
that way.
It feels like it. It's like you tried writing Tolkien, but you ended up writing fanfic. You know what I mean? It's someone on the internet who's trying to write some fan fiction is trying to get the prose and style of Tolkien, but not quite getting it right because they're not good enough to write as Tolkien. And it just feels like that. It's got an epic saga and an old England feel to it, like an old England admiral, an old England general, and it's just like you wouldn't talk like that, you wouldn't write like that.
I mean, he spoke proper. He spoke with a high English, and he spoke.
And possibly he wrote that way then.
Yeah, but it still doesn't make sense to me that in a diary you wouldn't be specific. You're writing for
and
you.
Even if you were writing for you and it's never to be found, you'd be specific. If you were writing to expose the truth after you died, you'd still be specific.
Yeah, this to me just feels like fan fiction. Like
yeah.
Someone's gone in and gone, well, we saw his final entry in 1947.
So we added 9 years later.
Yeah.
Because it tallies up with the timeline of when he died. And
it still feels to me, he if we believe that this is true, it still feels weird how certain things are capitalised and other things aren't. Why would he put staff meeting, capital S, capital M?
Well, that's what I said.
Pentagon, SNP.
Yeah, you brought up the Pentagon, the president is capitalised in that statement, and that's fair enough, but staff meetings capitalised. There's 4 exclamation marks after ordeal. He has weird capitalisation, and maybe it's just his
way.
His education, his way of writing,
But it's a clever boy, you know, so I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too far into this, but all I know for a fact is if I was writing a journal over a 10-year period, and I was writing it, even the thought that this could be thought, I found it to my death.
I've never wrote a diary.
I'd be specific.
I've never wrote a diary, but you either write into your. There's 2 ways to write a diary from one to another. You write to yourself, or you write dear diary, today I did this.
Yes.
But you're brutally honest and open and vulnerable, and you explain everything in great detail. To not like I flew into the Hollow Earth and I spoke to the master. You talk about how you were overcome with dread, or you were in awe, or you were. There's nothing about how he felt, or how there's just this happened, and this is the message I was given. When you be in complete awe of this world you found, or this, how does this? I can't even comprehend how this exists on the planet, and there's a whole new world beneath us that the world doesn't know about, and this is. My brain can't comprehend this.
So I spoke to people who've written the diary before, and they feel like exposing their feelings and their true thoughts. It's a cathartic experience.
Yeah, it's not a boil. It's going. Yeah. I'm feeling dread. I'm feeling awful. I'm feeling my missus keeps diaries. She writes a diary every day. And I've never read it. I don't know.
Is it this one?
I've never read it, and they're out in the open for me to look at, to read, but I promised I'd never read them because that's her. It's her therapy in a way.
Yeah, exactly. This doesn't read like a therapy session. This doesn't read like a cathartic experience.
Yeah.
And to have a 9-year gap between one entry and another, this feels more like if you put after you're died, you put this out into the open. This is a political spiel. This is another military complex availability of the world to do something else. I don't think this feels or reads like a diary of any kind.
I think his original statement he felt was true, but I think it's like I said, DMG chip from hypoxia and lack of oxygen in their brain death and stuff. And because even with say, okay, say he wasn't nearly dead. let's say he wanted it, he didn't get a DMT through, it was just lacking oxygen, hypoxia. You still get a high from a lack of oxygen. It's it's why we have autoerotic asphyxiation, like Michael Hutchins died knocking one out, hanging himself with a belt with it. It's just because you get a high from doing it. Because you get lack of oxygen, your brain sort of gets high. That might be for the DMT. I don't know. Starting for the DMT, you can stop it at the right time. You can manage
come at the same time, like, woohoo!
Yeah, but
explosions.
Yeah, Michael Hutchison obviously got it wrong and went a bit too far up there, which was a loss to music. But maybe it was just a case of he was oxygen deprivation, gets a bit of a high from it, flies back into the storm calms, and he gets his oxygen back and he flies on. But he's on this weird trip, and but yeah, his diary doesn't explain how he fell or what he went through. And we've got like what two entries from his time there.
Well,
but it was 2 hours long.
The diary was day, and then a couple of entries after. So there's nothing.
But it was a 2 hour long experience that he doesn't really embellish on anywhere. And even when he says, I saw this and I saw that, but he doesn't go into how he felt. I mean, if we diary like day diary, fuck me. Today, like, oh my god, I've never felt like, and like, I met the master. I went to the Hollow Earth and I saw Agatha, and it blew my mind that this exists. And I met the master, and I've got the level of warmth and love you feel from him, the benevolence that surrounds him. Like it has this light around him, but it just felt like I was enveloped in love, and I was looked after like it, and I had complete servitude to him. Like I knew this guy has nothing but good in him, and he wants the best for me, and it never considered once, it never crossed my mind to argue with what he said or go against what he said.
I think you've hit on
that's how you describe it.
I think you've hit on there something that many people have thought about, and that's what I was kind of trying to get to the point of. This is all statement, no context.
I met the master, he said this, I came home, I said it, I got told what secret saying, and reminded I'm a military man.
It's more like reading a script of a movie
than
it is reading the diary of a person who's got any kind of.
But you know what, if that was a script of a movie, you'd go, that's a very poorly fleshed out character. What's his motivation? What's his drive?
It seems very hasty without feeling. And for me, I don't know if it's truth, I don't know if it's been validated, but if I read that, I don't think this diary seems genuine.
No, I mean, there's no feeling, there's no emotion, there's nothing what he felt or what he experienced, only it's a direct report of what he saw. So if it's a diary to himself personally, then you'd have something like, I've never felt such love and warmth in my life and I've been in his presence. If it's a diary that you're putting out there to convince me that this is true, then you'd still put, I've never felt such warmth and love as in his presence. That statement still holds true, man. I mean, it gives more weight to this is you dictating what happened. This is not you relating your experience. Because your experience is how you understand it, how you process it logically, how you process it emotionally, what you felt like. When the master comes in front of you, this big benevolent being comes in front of you, do you feel loved? Do you feel adored? Do you feel like you're about to pitch your pants in front of you?
Exactly.
What did you feel when this guy approached you? Because if you're writing a personal diary, you put that in there.
And that's the thing for me, that's what it's missing. So, we could possibly, maybe we could possibly talk about Shaw a lot longer.
Yeah.
We've got a video to do.
You've got a video to finish.
So for Byrd, right, before we've got things
more
to talk about.
For Byrd, does that believe that Byrd flew to the whole Earth?
Can we talk about the end?
Right, so I thought what you were getting at there. Sorry.
No, it wasn't just a belief. I wasn't going to get to that context, but I was just going to ask about Byrd. Not do we believe that did Byrd believe he went there? Does thou believe that this diary is true?
No.
I don't think so either.
No. I don't get it. I could believe it's true that Byrd wrote it, but if I believe Byrd wrote it, then I've got to side on it. I've got to put me on the side that Byrd wrote it while trying to remember a trip. So, you know, I'm not going back to that clocks in the DMT through the body and stuff, but I don't want to keep going on around circles, but we've got some great nights out, we've been out of pits and got some fantastic nights out, but then 3 years later, if I should have write out what happened on that night out, that seems to be how Byrd would write it, you know.
Yeah, I suppose.
It can vaguely remember, piss, I can't remember much of it, but I remember bits of it, but I'm trying to remember it, but I can remember bits of what happened, I can't remember how I felt about it, the emotion behind it. So
I'm not as wishy-washy as you. Outright, I don't think Byrd wrote it.
So if he wrote it, I think he's either, if he did write it, he's either writing it from trying to remember a trip, like he tripped his balls off and it stuck with him, but he's trying to make sense of it and write it out, or it's like a propaganda piece.
Or 3, he didn't write it and someone was trying to keep his legacy alive.
Yeah.
So I don't think he wrote it.
Could this be like Signs?
Signs?
Yeah, remember Signs we were talking about at the beginning of the show, about Signs where he never actually wrote about his Oliver theory.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant like a fucking
the Mel Gibson movie. No. But yeah, Signs earlier we were talking at the beginning of the show where he never actually wrote his theory down, but 4 or 5 people wrote books, so his son wrote one.
Yeah.
Could just this be that everyone's talking about Admiral Byrd and the Hollow Earth and stuff, and his son's gone, do you know what? I found his diary.
Maybe to keep his legacy alive in the image that he wanted.
Sounds like Sign's son just going, no. You're going to make some pocket money out of this. We are.
So I think we should probably move on. I don't know which way you want to go now, but I've got a couple of things.
Well, I've run out of notes now.
Alright, okay.
So we're all on yours now.
I don't lead then.
Yeah, you'll take the lead, my good friend.
So I have a fair few page notes left. So what I do want to do is there's a couple of items I want to talk about. Well, we're going to talk about Gartha first. So I don't know who owns this particular picture of a Gartha, but I'm going to share it with you so we could put it.
This will be on screen now.
No,
this is the picture we showed earlier, but we'll put it back on screen now.
So we're going to talk about. So
yeah. So when we talk about this, I'm going to keep this picture on while we're talking. So we're going to discuss all this picture bit. You'll see the picture instead of us.
So it's kind of tried to bring together many conspiracies before of Hollow Earth, and someone's kind of tried to bring together.
I always say this isn't like Admiral Byrd came back with a map of the garden. This is someone's looked at 14, 15 different Hollow Earth theories and so on. It's like I liken this to the map of Morphle. Which, if you don't know, it's Terrapatch's Discworld. It's the major city in Terrapatch Discworld, right? And you can buy the map of that Morphle, the official map of that Morphle. But it was put together by a reader who read every book and describes how, like, when the copper sun binds knows it's so many steps to this street, and then you walk 20 steps down, you turn left onto this street. And there were bits and points of references, and he put the entire city that Pratchett made up in his head, and this guy drew a map of the city. Just what was in the way it's worked out. Pratchett went, and he sent it to Terry Pratchett, and he went, you know what, there was never a map about Morphle, but if there was, that's fucking it, that's the official map now. This guy went, I've come to all your books, it took me 2 years to go to all your books, and I'm taking this reference and look at everything, and this is, I think this is what Morphle is. And Pratchett went, fuck, that's better than I thought it was. That's the official map, sell it, that's and I think that's what this is. Someone's taken all the different theories, looked at it, and put them all together bit by bit.
Let's automatically bring up, we've not talked about all of these, let's talk about that one, the Dero case. we've already said the Dero cave is a fiction, right?
Yeah.
So why would a fictional story be on an official idea of what a map would look like?
But also, one of the theories, kind of which one it is not quite at homebrew, mentions like the Pyramid of Giza and stuff like that, which is there. We mentioned right at the beginning, before we even got into Hollow Earth theory, we talked about creation myths and the Earth being angry and the concept of heaven and hell.
Yeah.
And we've got volcanoes on there. We've got the Kentucky Mammoth Cave, which I'm assuming that's the one on the Mississippi River that I spoke about.
Possibly so,
There's over 15,000 to 20,000 families. We've got some other mountains, some other caves. And it's like, this is just like you've taken all the... we've got King Solomon's mines on there.
That doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah, but it's there and it comes down.
But,
So and there's like all these tunnels and natural tunnels that come in from volcanoes and the Pyramid of Giza. But the Pyramid of Giza is the only one that's man-made tunnels. So the Egyptians buried down into the hollow earth, and the Pyramid of Giza is the entry to it. No, because it says man-made tunnels. So this is that says they dug in where all the rest are natural.
Wasn't this supposed to be 800 miles thick?
Yeah.
Well, we've only been able to drill 800 kilometres because of heat.
Yeah.
8 kilometres because of heat.
But the ancient Egyptians, when they built the Pyramid of Giza, dug down to it.
So supposedly they could get rid of heat. They had
But to be fair, the Russians, they've drilled, how many miles of Russians?
8 kilometres.
8 kilometres down, it's supposed to 1,600 kilometres to get down to Agartha.
So,
but to be fair, the Russians drilled in a straight line. You can see the Pyramid of Giza come at angles, so obviously it dissipates heat
clearly.
and pressure. So, getting science thing on dickhead.
I'm sorry. Fuck me.
But no, this is a conglomeration of all the different theories.
But can we just look at this? Have you seen the cross hatching? So granite.
Yeah.
And cross hatching there says granite.
Mhm.
They've got to drill through fucking 3 sediments of granite.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but I believed that outside of sanding granite, the only way to get drill through granite was with diamond tips.
Yeah.
So, who in Pyramid in Giza had a diamond tip drill?
Watch History Channel Nation. It's like you know the pyramids are put together
shit.
with laser precision. We can't even replicate today.
I'm sorry.
You know.
I'm sorry. You know. But all right then. Okay. What about the?
I mean, what about this bit? Is this big blue bit that goes all the way around, and on the cover it's called plastic vessel. What the fuck is plastic vessel?
Is that what it is, isn't it? It's a plastic vessel.
But there's all rock minerals.
I don't know. Tell me.
Isn't plastic formed by melting oil?
Yeah.
Plastic doesn't form naturally in the world.
It
It's a chemical compound we made from fossil fuel, from oil. It's one of my favourite things that, you know, like you get a toy dinosaur. You get those little plastic toy dinosaurs when as kids.
Yeah.
It's made from plastic, and that's made from oil, which is a fossil fuel. So plastic is you get a plastic dinosaur, and it's still it's plastic that's made from fossil fuels, made from oil, which is made from fossilized dinosaurs. So a plastic dinosaur is technically, scientifically, made from real dinosaurs.
You're correct.
So a plastic dinosaur is a real dinosaur.
We've also drunk dinosaur piss, and you know, it's going to go back that far. Sorry about that. We were video bombed, weren't we?
Yeah, video bomb then, and you know what, stay in it, you'll learn a lesson. But actually, you've got a scale here, actually.
That's including, it says 800 miles wide, 8,000 miles wide, scale inside the Earth.
The dot scale is 1,000 miles there. That's only, that's 1,000 miles down.
So,
We've not dug 1,000 miles down, but the Egyptians did it at Giza.
No problem, man. Fucking aliens help them. What don't you understand?
I'm not saying it's aliens, but aliens.
So, I mean, that seems like bullshit. But anyway. But the Agartha, we were talking before, Buddhists believed that
Shambhala.
Yeah, Shambhala exists, city of Shambhala exists. Agartha is the idea of everything being brought together is, when you bring all the theories together, Agartha is what it is, with the inner earth, with the inner sun, with the central sun, with the inner cities, and whether or not we believe that is a different scenario. Do you know what? I thought Agartha was going to be, this, as a subterranean world in this empire, I thought it was going to be this big talking point. But I know that the Indians and the Ramayana and the Bhagavad Gita and all that scenario and the text of India all talk about the same thing, about this inner city, inner earth, but I actually don't think, I thought this was going to be a big talking point, but I actually don't think it's much of a talking point at all. So
no, it's just, I think we covered Agartha in at the top of the show when we talked about creation myths and Native Americans think, Indigenous people think we come from the earth, or we have a heaven and a hell. I kind of covered Agartha there for me, really. Like, Agartha isn't it's not a point of the theory. It's either an augmentation of the theory, or it's just a concept that makes the theory work. It's not something we can discuss and talk about and we have evidence to pick apart like we have the whole rest of the theory of Hollow Earth. It's just, Hindus believe in Hollow Earth and they call it Agartha. The name exists for it, but yeah, to me it's not. The only thing we're discussing there is like, is it true that the Hindus call it Agartha, the Buddhists call it Agartha? They're quite close religions. They grew up and existed alongside each other, so there's always going to be some crossover in terminology and names and philosophy. So to me, it's not. To me, Agartha is no different than Indigenous people believe when we came out of the Hollow Earth.
Do you know what I think we're still talking about now? What we talked about today?
I think we've done the Hollow Earth, to be honest.
Well, actually,
I'm ready to go to Does I Believe?
I'm not.
Alright, what you got left? What you got?
There's a couple of notable mentions, I think.
Okay.
There's a couple of things. So,
honourable mentions.
Yeah. So, the one that does pop up quite a lot is there's a guy called Ernst Zundel, who was born in Bad Wildbad in Baden-Württemberg. He emigrated to Canada from West Germany in 1958 when he was 19.
Is this the guy who did flies?
Kind of, yeah. So,
right, yeah.
He basically left to avoid being conscripted into the German army.
Yeah. Coward and a traitor.
Yeah, certainly. So anyway, he had this.
We had a word for them in England. Go on, deserters, and we shot them.
So he, whilst not brought up a Nazi, he was a Nazi sympathiser, and he believed in the Nazi way. And what he said is he created in Canada a magazine article called UFOs, Nazi Secret Weapons in 1976. And his proclamation was that he knew that at the end of World War II, Hitler and his last battalion boarded his submarine and escaped to Argentina, which we talked about
last week. Yeah.
They then established a base for advanced saucer-shaped craft, which came out in the previous conversation we had today, inside the hull of the South Pole. When the Allies learned what had happened, they dispatched Richard Byrd.
Yeah. They all tied together nicely, yeah.
And a scientific expedition, in fact an army to attack the Nazi base, and again we heard from Operation High Jump.
Operation High Jump was a cover for,
and that aliens were attacking. But there was no match for superior Nazi weapons. And what he said was, he actually tried to sell a $9,999 visit to the poles to see the secret Nazi bases that he knew existed. So he was saying,
this was a flight, he was going to sell a commercial flight, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then he proposed in 1979 to 1980 exactly where they were going to fly. And the reason I find this particularly interesting is that it's probably bullshit, but this is a Nazi saying, I know where the Nazis are, I can take us to a flight there, I can show you exactly where things are. The problem being is that it never got off the ground, nobody really bought it, but he should.
But when nobody bought it, he went, actually, here's the flight path exactly. So if you don't want to buy my flight to go there, if the American money wants to fly there, this is that flight path you need to take to see them.
Well, he said this is where we're going to fly from America to get to where we need to get to. And he was planning, and he even put in Antarctica, there's a section of exactly where the Nazis were. So might be able to show the flyer on screen, but he showed there.
I can put this on screen, this will go on screen.
So he showed there, that's where the Nazis are. That's it. And he put bullet points specifically in Antarctica, exactly where they're going to go, because that's exactly where the Nazi base was.
So he's shown Nazi-occupied Antarctica here, and then is this point supposed to be where the Hollow Earth entry is?
Well, it's exactly where the Nazi base is supposed to be.
Why is the Nazi base outside Nazi-occupied area?
Because they'll probably occupied an area and driven off to where the...
That's their beach hole, that's their beachfront,
And he showed, this is...
It showed the crash, the Google graph, which we mentioned earlier.
And also the Samistad saucer, the Frisbee saucer, which was also a Nazi design. And he said he was going to go see these sorts of things and about where they're going to go in the poles. So the reason I found this particularly interesting is whilst it might be fan fiction, Ernst Zunda was actually trying to take money from people to go, we're going to go aboard a flight and we're going to go to where it all exists. Now, was this closed down because of...
You don't want to do that, we know it's there, fucking stop it.
Yeah, fucking not doing this. Oh, it's a case of some other bullshit and this Nazi's gone. Oh, I'm never gone. But he said though, due to overwhelming numbers of letters and telephone calls requesting details about our new books, new products, speaking tours, psychic research projects.
So he's shilling other stuff as well as the flight. He knows the flight's never going to happen because they can't get a plane that can do it, but I'll show him a tour.
Yeah, so basically the probability is that he's just shilling it. But
if that flyer was, I don't know a flyer back then, but if that were in modern day, if that were a Kickstarter campaign where, put 100 quid to our Kickstarter or 200 quid to our Kickstarter and we'll put you on this flight. I don't know, like £1,000. Put £1,000 to this Kickstarter and you get a ticket on this flight to fly over and find it's not the best. Alright. I'll walk £1,000 my savings in.
why not?
I don't see. Even if I see nothing, and I'll probably expect to see nothing. At least I know there's nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's that bit of like, what if there is? Has anyone tried doing that flight commercially? Has anyone tried? Well, you know what I mean? Or is it you try to fly commercially and you get stopped by military forces? If so, why are they stopping us? Is there something there? This is where the conspiracy theory comes in. This is where it stays alive.
Yeah, 100%. Because this discussion we'll probably get onto at the last point. But there are two more things that I do want to talk about. The first one is, and these are completely unrelated, but I think they're important to talk about.
Yeah.
So, some of the discussion might be with people in the comment section or people in at home is to the Hollow Earth is completely impossible. But irrespective of my belief system, we kind of started finding things in the 21st century which might suggest that it's the Hollow Earth completely beyond the realms of thought, because only 4 or 5 years ago they found the Erong Dong caves. It's 500 square feet, it's got its own ecosystem, its own clouds, and when they found it in China, they particularly started to discover some of the caves were so massive they contained their own weather systems with clouds and fog.
This sounds like fucking science fiction or fanfic.
But it's absolute fact.
Yeah.
And it's got its own vegetation, trees, bushes. This is this massive cave system in China that's got its own ecosystem, its own water system, its own fog, its own clouds underground. And it's not huge. It's 500 square feet, which is fine. But imagine 10 times that by 10 under the earth. Is it possible? We found this. This is fact. We can go see it.
Well, isn't the caves in China, I think it is.
No, this is China.
That we found that are natural nuclear reactors. Like it's natural
alien video.
Yeah, but it's fact that it exists. It's a natural nuclear reactor, the way uranium gone and reacted with the minerals. It's a natural nuclear reactor. The Ancient Aliens video is that it was put there and built and but we know it is there. There's naturally uranium that is going through some kind of nuclear process. That is scientific fact, we found it. And this is something that's happening in the cave. So when we're going like, oh well, in Agrafar there's a sun inside the Earth. Could there be a sun inside the Earth? Probably. Well, probably. When you think about the heat that the molten core must have, if we take the scientific model of the Earth as an iron core with that spins one way and magma spins the other way, which kind of goes onto the concentric circles we spoke about at the beginning, the concentric spheres we spoke about at the beginning of the video. The heat that's in there, well, probably contain not probably similar to the heat of the sun. So the heat that's there could probably exist. Is somebody that close to Earth? Probably not. Like, if we moved a little bit close to our sun, we'd probably fry all life on this planet.
2 degrees out.
Yeah, we'd be dead, right? So, could we have a sun under the Earth without us knowing it? Yeah. Could we have a sun and have civilization close to it? Probably not, we'd be fried. But, could it be where they talk about a sun? Could it just be the light from a natural cave reactor? We've seen the natural reactor in China. Could be a natural cave system reactor.
Where you're going with this.
Then it's not a sun, it's just a glow from the power it's created.
Probably that's a stretch.
No, I know it's a stretch, but I'm just saying, could it be...
You're making my brain hurt, mate, I must admit.
Could it be that it's not a sun, it's just a power source? But, like we were saying earlier, at the beginning of the show, ancient man had no concept of geology. So a volcano is just an angry god and the Earth's angry with it. Could Admiral Byrd and all these other people be inside the hollow Earth, see a bright light in the centre and go, that must be a sun? Because they have no concept of atomic power or electromagnetic power, that it's a power that gives out light.
I would expect Byrd to know the difference.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's not a power. It's not a sun. It's just a glow from a power station.
Yeah, I think you are.
You see where I'm coming from? No, but you see the type.
I get the idea.
I'm not asking you to subscribe to it. I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Can you see the train of thought I'm going down?
I can.
But
you're making me brain hurt, like. I get where you're going. It's possibly the most implausible thing we've said tonight, but yeah, I get where you're going with it.
It's more implausible than a civilization on the planet?
Probably not, no, to be honest.
But no, what I'm saying is we've got proof of naturally occurring nuclear reactors. We've got proof of naturally occurring ecosystems that are completely separated from any contact with the Earth. Not the Earth, but there's no sunlight, there's no rain, it's got its own weather system, it's its own self-contained biodome essentially. So if we know that can exist, then put a power source in the middle of it that's just glowing rather than being a sun, and you've got Agrafar.
Okay, Badger, now you're fucking broke my brain a little bit. I thought that was going to be more easy than it should be.
This is part of the fun of doing this, isn't it? And I'm at home, but now I'm on a different level.
We are like literally midnight on a 4 hours in, and we are on a different level now.
Yeah.
I don't know how this video is going to be cut, but fuck me, we're well into it. I'm going to bring up one scientific thing.
Yeah.
I actually think the last thing could be a bone of contention.
Alright, so let's have the scientific thing first and the last thing last.
Okay. So, some of the... I'm trying to debunk a little bit, because some of the things we read about hollow Earth was, well actually, we found oceans underneath the Earth's crust. Vast oceans where we know that things can exist. So...
And we've found, I've got the diploma in exobiology, because we found life that exists where we didn't think life could exist.
Yeah. That's within our own oceans and within.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even talking about the Mariana Trench. We've not even got to the bottom of the Mariana Trench yet. I don't think we're not capable of getting down there. But we found things at the bottom of the ocean just off Jamaica. I'd say just off Jamaica, quite a few miles outside of Jamaica. I think about 20 to 30 miles from Jamaica, I think it is. But we found bacteria that lives around methane vents. Methane is bubbling out of the earth, and it's just bacteria. Like no species on Earth. We've never found a species on Earth that lives without oxygen.
It's sulfur based, I think.
Is it silicon based?
It's silicon based.
Yeah. And the idea is that So the idea is that we find there's two types of life. Either carbon based life forms, which is everything on Earth.
Yeah.
And the other side of the understanding is that if we meet aliens or planet civilization, they could be silicon based. And that to find silicon in the life form, we'd have to find it off planet. And actually, no, it's there. It's this little fucking bacteria that sits around grows around the methane vent.
Give that a million years and see what happens.
Yeah, but like, the silicon based life form was just theoretical. Nope, there it is. It exists. We found it. And we thought it could only exist because of the way our ecosystem, the way our planet works, that a silicon-based life form could exist occurring in a world. It has to be based on a different ecosystem, a different planet, in which case we couldn't visit them and they couldn't visit us because it'd be toxic. And so you expect a silicon-based life form, something like Venus or Mercury. But nope, we found it on Earth. It's there. It's like, those aliens we're looking for. Just off coast of Jamaica, they're down there, mate.
Go have a look at.
Which leads you to think, we found that 30 miles off the coast of Jamaica, what the fuck are we going to find at the bottom of Mariana Trench? We can finally get down there.
Well, there's all sorts of discussions about what's a based UFO.
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is because, like, there can't be a civilization on the planet because of this and this. Yeah, well, we thought life couldn't exist there 20 years ago. And
true.
now, 10 years ago, we found a life form that shouldn't exist on this world. But it's there.
Well, I agree, but I think coming back to the point I'm trying to make before.
Sorry.
No, it's a true discussion that we've had. I actually agree. There's so much things we've not found beneath our own feet that we're still looking at the stars. But there's this idea that we've got all these underwater oceans. I'm pretty sure we do have some liquid oceans below our feet. But actually, we're found in the transition zone below the crust, about 6 miles below the surface.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to burn again. I know some of this, I'm going to jump in just so I can see knowledgeable before you actually come to your point. But haven't we found so far down there's like a second ocean under the Earth's mantle?
It's not an ocean, actually. That's the misnomer. So it's not an ocean.
There's water molecules.
Yes.
Or solidified, like diamondized water molecules.
Correct. So it's called ringwoodite. So we found at the transition zone below the crust 620 miles below the surface. So below the surface, water is used for the mantle convention. If it stopped, the Earth would end. However, there was a diamond found in 2000 in Brazil which showed ringwoodite. But the reason why this was significant is because we know this diamond came from the mantle. It popped out of the mantle. We know for a fact it came from there. And it also had ringwoodite in it. And the reason it was significant is because when you look at the ringwoodite, 1.5% of its weight was water. So if we look at this ringwoodite and go, well, if we look at below the Earth, 1.5% is the chemical compound for water that is actually compressed into diamond or into rock.
This is similar to getting like a core sample from inside of it. You take like a half-metre long core sample and you've got 30 years of geology, 30,000 years of geology kind of thing. Yeah.
So we're basically saying that below the crust of the Earth, we have the compounds for vast oceans that if it had come to the surface of the Earth, it would become the ocean. So we're saying that we can look at the core of the Earth, because the theory was at one point that actually oceans came from a meteorite, and then it landed on the Earth, and that the Earth grew water because of things that happened to be. What this is kind of showing is actually
water comes from inside the Earth. The Earth produces water.
Correct, because it's part of rock, and that we've actually had it created inside the Earth, and that is, and that we've got the chemical compound for water in it.
But it's like really, really fucking simple science that's going to be completely wrong, but kind of in a reasonable context, is that we've got the iron core, we've got the magma, with the mantle,
Yeah.
and the earth. So is it like got the rock, the mantle heat, the magma heats up the rock so much, and as it pushes up, it cools, and as molecules fall off it, we're left with like diamondized H2O. Like you lose a bit of magnesium, a bit of iron, so you end up with some ringwoodite, which is.
I think the idea was that there was so much heat and nowhere for it to go, that it basically just got trapped. So normally when water gets heated to steam and evaporates, there's fucking nowhere for it to go. And so when it started to cool into rock, it just cooled inside the rock, but it had nowhere to go, so it just got trapped in.
But you can create water from nowhere like magic. You can put
magic.
Yeah, you can put a heat source with a plastic canopy over it. You'll get water.
But because there's already water in the air.
Yeah, because you're heating the molecules in. That's what I'm saying. The molecules that make water in the mantle already. But as they come up and cool down, bits of it, other molecules fall away, so we get chemical bonds that form water. So the earth creates water by just heating. The magma's heating up. It's heating the minerals and stuff in the rock in it. As it goes up through pressure and through cooling down, other chemical bonds fall away from it. So we're left with diamondized water, essentially.
So, I can't specifically remember the science.
I'm making that really fucking simple and wrong, but
I believe it was a case of the water had nowhere to go until it was solidified within rock. So, I think that's all it was. So that the chemical compound for 1.5% of water weight inside so if you had a £100 rock, 1.5 pounds of that rock is water.
Water, yeah.
So if that rock, like we do in the mantle, if it becomes liquid, comes out of a volcano, you've got water, so it becomes part of your atmosphere, it becomes part of your ocean. So if it goes into an ocean, it becomes part
Well, that's
of
where like you get before volcano erupts, you get all the smoke and the steam from it.
But I assume that's hitting because it's already
Because
hitting.
it's hitting the atmosphere, it becomes water, reacting the chemicals in the atmosphere. So is that just case? Is that the planet creates water, or is that water was trapped as the planet was forming?
I think we have to take into consideration when the Earth is still forming, it's still.
Yeah, it's formed as we knew it.
Yeah.
So that what about that mantle that so far down has got water in it we didn't know it could exist on, but is that just water that was trapped as the first crust of the planet was forming, or the take the idea that cooling and water's being trapped in rock and then it's solidified in there?
I don't know, because we could look at, I think,
because there's a difference between water being trapped within the crust of the planet and the planet creating water. There's a difference in the two there.
I think if we start looking at our planet, look at Mars. Did NASA just announce that the water on Mars?
Yeah, they found water molecules on Mars.
They found water molecules on the Moon?
Yeah, we found water molecules. Sorry, there's long suspect. Well, we've known for a long time that Mars has polar ice caps. They're just buried, and we theorise that they're there, but we don't know how to get to them. But yeah, we found water molecules on the dark side of the moon, and the crater of the moon.
There's no real such thing as dark side of the moon. Just we can't see it, but it's not really dark.
No, it's not really dark. It's the dark side of the moon. It's about the moon.
It's the moon that we never get to see.
We never see that side of the moon. That's why it's called the dark side. But yeah, we there's water on that side of it, but on the light side of the moon, there's water in craters, and we can't. It's a big scientific discovery because it's not like water on another planet, because we always considered we need to find water to find life. But it's a bigger scientific discovery because how the fuck is it not drift off into space? Because the moon has like a very minimal atmosphere. So it should have disappeared by now, it should have been stripped off, but it's been deep craters and it's on the dark side, so yeah, the scientific point of that is water exists, but as I understand it, it should have been stripped away millennia ago.
To answer the Earth scenario, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to point out.
There's water there and chemical compounds.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if the Earth creates water, then there's a possibility for hollow Earth and oceans underneath it can exist. If it's water that's being trapped under layers of rock as the Earth is forming, then that kind of disproves Hollow Earth.
Well, we still don't know. Well, either way, Hollow Earth's disproved because it's not an ocean. The idea of if we go all the way back to the beginning, where we're talking about Haley was saying, you know, this is gas, this is water, and so on. It's not liquid water. That's the thing.
No, yeah, fair point.
It's water trapped in rock. So water is there. It was right actually. Water is there, but it's not. It's just in its chemical.
It's not water as we know it.
It's not liquid water. It's chemical compound water. It's not. And even if it was chemical compound water, you couldn't drink it. You couldn't live in it.
Yeah, I think like the water found on the moon isn't water as we know it out of the tap.
It's just a chemical compound.
It's a chemical compound of water. But it's not. Yeah, it's not water as in like. Oh, then let's dig a hole here and we can fill a bucket with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was your last point?
Well, my last one is a bit of a bone of contention because I don't know how people are going to feel about it. But there's lots of conspiracies, and the last thing is, people believe the evidence of Hollow Earth is that nobody can be down Antarctica.
Right, this is one that gets me, and it gets me because I can't understand it. There's no one's been able to give me a good reason for it. Is that every country in the world signed a 12 countries, signed a treaty not to explore Antarctica.
No. 12 countries agreed that Antarctica has no human population, no native population at all. So therefore it belongs to nobody.
It belongs to the Earth. It's the one bit, it's the great untouched. Mankind has put its blight across the planet, but we're 12 has agreed not to put our blight on this one.
So the Antarctic Treaty in 1959 was between 12 countries was, there's no indigenous life, therefore no one's got a claim on this planet, claim on this land. So before we all start warring over it, can we all put a treaty in place that says this should be the only place on earth and a place of peace where no one owns it, we can all have access to it whenever we need to.
And everyone stuck by that and agreed to it.
Yes.
But Iraq has indigenous life, but Iraq also has oil. And we bomb the fuck out of them for that.
Is it oil in Antarctic? Easily accessible, probably answer is no.
Easily accessible, a lot cheaper than going to fucking war.
I don't think it is.
There's oil there that you say to me that America could go get oil because in Antarctica classed as Alaska's classed as America. So I'm getting confused with Alaska there because they're about like not drilling in Alaska. They want to drill in Alaska. There's so much oil under it that they think there's so much oil that they reckon could be 10 times more than they think there is.
Well, they don't really know. The difficulty is
They don't know until they get there.
Well, the difficulty with Antarctica is that there's loads of land underneath shitloads of ice. And I'm sure by now
the thing for me is like, so we've had 12 countries came together in 1959.
It's 59 now, 54 now in 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
So was that 54 years ago?
54 now in 2020. It's 54 agreed to the treaty.
54 agreed to it now.
It was agreed by, I think it was 12 in 1954, 1957, but in 2020 it's 54 countries now are part of the treaty.
And it'd be interesting to see that there's 54 countries and see how many of those countries have bombed each other, how many of those countries don't have war with each other.
I don't know the list actually.
Yeah, but yeah, I reckon America have bombed a couple of them.
Okay, at least 30% of them.
Yeah, at least 30% of them. So, this thing that gets me, if we were to go drill the fuck out of Antarctica, if we were to whack up oil rigs and drill the shit out of it, now I'm not proposing for it, but
there he is, he's got a business plan.
what harm would come? We're not dispersing native people, we're not disrupting wildlife, because pretty fucking dead, no one can live there.
It's pretty uninhabitable and difficult to get to.
Yeah, but we can go get there. We have the strategy to get there, to drill for oil, and I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's hard, but we can do it with no effect on anyone, really.
No, because if you go there and you disrupt the natural environment, if the
you're not disrupting indigenous people.
We're all a bit.
No, but you're not disrupting
swimming,
indigenous people, and you're not. You're not disrupting indigenous people. You're not affecting the ecosystem or wildlife. It's fucking dead. Right?
Almost.
Right. But is it not somewhere we should be? Get not just hypothetical, but shouldn't we drilling a dead land for oil rather than the fucking desert in Iraq or?
How do you know there's oil?
Or in Texas? Like, there's theories there that there's oil there and stuff.
Yeah, but.
Right.
Other than Byrd, who said there is?
Alright, the point I'm trying to get to is that we've had so many wars since 1959 of bombing each other and attacking each other and blowing the shit out of each other. But we can all come to an agreement on this one place. We can all agree not to. Does that sound a bit weird, a bit dodgy?
It depends. So, you're kind of just proving your own point here. If we're willing to go to war and blow the fuck out of Libya, Iraq, Iran, wouldn't get the point.
Yeah, that's coming.
It's fucking obvious that it's going to come at some point. Afghanistan and steal the property stuff. And we're going, let's go get all the oil. If it was easy to get the oil from Antarctica, we would have done it. We wouldn't have needed to bomb those places. So for me, if it was easy, those places wouldn't have been bombed already.
Yeah, but alright, so let's look outside of oil. Alright?
You brought oil up.
Yeah, no, I brought oil up, that's the first place I went to, but alright, fair point, well made. So let's look outside of oil then. We can't agree on Britain, well, we're in talks right now, we've got like 28 days left of Brexit negotiations, where 27 countries can't decide how to run a union.
Yeah.
The 27 countries can't decide how to run a political union. 50 states in America can't decide how to run an election. But 59 countries across the world can all agree not to invade Antarctica.
But isn't it very easy? Isn't this like the easiest decision there is to make? You go, whether I believe it or not, just arguing a point here, but isn't it an easy decision? Nobody lives there, it's full of ice, it could have resources that we don't know about, but we don't know yet, so we fucking all investigate. Because nobody lives there, and there's nothing really to invade, we can't fucking get through all this ice yet, we don't actually know 100% what's below it. Is it really worth a country going, I'm willing to go to war to take this land without any knowledge whatsoever about what's underneath it? Or how to defend it, how to fucking post people there, how to take it up?
Alright, let's put it right. So, 59 countries said they're not going to go for it. Alright, I claim it, mine belongs to me now. I'm leader of England, I'm fucking king of England or whatever. And go, yeah, that belongs to me now.
How do you make it belong to you?
I'll put a flag in it, I claimed it.
Okay.
It's fine, right? No, you can't do that. Well, yeah, I did. No, because we've got a treaty. Yeah, I'm not part of that treaty. You said you agreed not to, and it's sat there waiting, ready. Like Iran could just go, we've claimed that now. We've put an Iranian flag on it.
And Iran gets bombed.
No, because you can't do that because we've got this treaty. Yeah, you guys got a treaty. We're not part of that treaty. We can say you say human greed. It's not like Yorkshire cynicism comes in, but human greed is going to go. Well, what do you want that for? You might go, well, fucking let them up. There's no there. Not there now. What's technology going to be like in 20, 30, 50, 100 years?
But surely you have to find something worth fighting for before you start fighting for it. Currently, it's just full of snow. There's something below it. We're not entirely sure exactly what's below it. Is it worth having a fucking world war over without having any idea about what's underneath it?
Yeah. So I think this it could be potential for world war in the future.
I think it possibly could be.
I think it's got to be a potential world war in the future. This is where I kind of go. I've just been arguing just for the sake of arguing.
It's all right.
Right. This is kind of where I go against the other theory in Admiral Byrd and stuff is that they went out there, they had the great US expedition 82 to 86, wasn't it? And then Admiral Byrd in 1947, we had research stations on Antarctica for years, and no one's found anything to claim yet.
But the potential to reckon there might have found some pyramids.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is no one's found any oil or anything to take it, or anything worthwhile taking, nothing to war over.
Agreed.
So this treaty's lasted.
When they find something of worth,
then that treaty's going to be worth shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be lined up with the bombs for you.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's like, I love, there's I can't remember the name of the island. It's one of my greatest fucking, it's an ongoing, what's my greatest war ever. And I hate war, but I love this one. Russia are at war on Canada over an island.
Well, America shafted Russia over over fucking Alaska big time. But
yeah, but there's it's on it. It's a fucking rock that's about the size of this kitchen. Right. But Canada and Russia have been at war for about 50 years.
That's amazing.
Right. And do you know how they attack each other?
Cyber attacks.
Nope. It's Canada. It's the most polite war ever.
You are naughty!
Right?
By email.
Russia put a Russian flag on this rock.
Right.
So Canada sailed a boat out to it, took the Russian flag down, rolled it up and left it nice and neat at the side, put a Canadian flag up and left them a box of maple syrup.
I love you, Canada.
A couple of months later, they go back, the Canadian flags rolled up nice and neat and respectfully, laid on the floor with a Russian flag flying, with a crate of vodka.
I reckon this is like Romeo and Juliet. That's
So,
going on here.
so for the last 50 years, it's essentially been like, oh, it's been a month. Time her out there, you roll out and you collect your crate of vodka, you take the Russian flag down, you wrap it up, put it on the floor, unwrap the Canadian flag, put it up and leave a crate of maple syrup and go off again. And a month later you come back and the Canadian flag's on the floor and the maple syrup's gone, there's a crate of vodka.
It's such a wonderful trade agreement.
That's the Canadian-Russian war, it's been going on for 50 years.
Oh, well,
it's still happening today. I love it. It's like, you're going to war with the most polite nation in the world. Yes, and it's a very polite war, thank you very much.
I don't agree. Have some vodka.
Take your flag off our rock, but have some maple syrup, yeah? You're like, we'll put our flag back up, but have some vodka. Yeah.
Can we do that war next week?
Yeah.
I'll bring some vodka.
I'll bring maple syrup. And I'm losing it.
I think we need to do that war and we'll hand it over next week. I'll bring the vodka, you bring the maple syrup.
It's such a beautiful, polite one. It's a piece of rock that means nothing. And it became, I think it became an argument in the UN over where the lines were drawn on international boundaries and stuff.
That's amazing.
So it's a stupid, silly war.
Out of all the things we discussed today, that is the best fucking discussion of the day.
What I'm saying is,
fuck all away. It's all about this.
It's a piece of fuck all land. It's a rock that's about the size of this room, not probably the size of my house, whatever. But you know what I mean.
Mansion and Leeds, by the way.
But they just fuck about with it. It's just like, oh yeah, we're at war. Let's carry on. Because no one, for one of them to give up the land, give up that rock, means they give up a mile of their international waters.
Right. Okay.
And there's quite a lot of fish in them.
I just say
so
50 boxes of vodka and it's yours.
No, by keeping the war going, they keep the line down the middle of it, so they keep the fishing stocks.
Right, okay.
Whereas if one of them seize the land, they'd lose a mile of fishing waters, where they'd lose the fishing stocks, so they've got this very friendly war going on, right? What we're saying is like, this is how silly shit gets in international politics. Right.
It's wonderfully silly though.
It is wonderful, isn't it? It's beautiful, it's one of those wonderful quirks, it's amazing. But it's this wonderfully stupid fucking war that's going on. Now, that 59 countries, like, two countries who have no argument or follow each other other than where the line of international waters, like fishing stocks, have had a 50-year polite war over a barren piece of rock. If there was anything in Antarctica this treaty won't hold it.
But it would have been gone. And it would have been, I've got the biggest
and
bombs.
The reason I bring up the Canada-Russia thing is like that this is sorted out correctly by the UN and stuff, is that one of them has to cede the land up. So they've gone, I don't want the land, you don't want the land, it's shit. There's no on it, it's just a piece of rock, but
We want the fish.
we want the fish and you want the fish, so should we just keep this funny little war going? But they're not, there's never been a shot fired in this. It's a 50-year war and there's never been a shot fired.
I love it.
It's just a guy in a fishing boat rows a mile out and takes the Russian flag down. But also, with great respect, wraps it up and protects it against the weather until the Russians come back and puts the Canadian flag up, and then the Russians give the same respect back again, and they leave a little present for whoever has to come and get it. You know, and that's just going like, that's a bit, this is bullshit. We're at war over this rock, but we could just go, should we put the line down here and we share it, but under UN law, you can't share a land. And because this rock's big enough to appear on a map or something, they can't, one nation has to claim it. So they have to stay at war over it.
Bizarre.
And if UN politics are that bizarre, then what the fuck is going on with Antarctica? You know, we've got all these different research stations, so if you imagine if we find some of there, like now, it works now because it's similar to the Canadian-Russian war where it's
not found anything yet.
Not found out yet. It's not worth fighting for. Let's carry on. Like, I suppose those fish stocks are worth fighting for, but we've come to an agreement.
The only other thing, on the other side of the coin, it will be, can we both agree that there's no way, nothing ever happened before, where 54 countries have agreed.
It's never happened.
It's found something secret and we'll all keep quiet about it.
Yeah.
We'll all be in on the fucking big secret. That's not happened.
I mean, you could argue, well,
unless it's a Bilderberg group. You know.
I'm going to say, like, oh, 12 countries signed it, and now it's 54 now, you say.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, 12 countries signed it because they found some secret and agreed to keep secret. And it's now at 54 because all the secret guys are to let them in. Very about that to let them in. But if it were a secret and you were keeping it, wouldn't you just keep the original 12 and keep the others out? Why would you go up to 54?
12.
Yeah. Why would you go up to 50? Why would you let another fucking 42 in? You know why you let another 42 people in? Because there's fucking nothing there. It is a dead wasteland. But the moment we find something there, watch that treaty disappear like that.
Blink of an eye. Blink of an eye. If you found something of worth fighting for, you'll see a war.
Yeah. Definitely.
You'll see a war. And the funny,
It's just weird that it's for me, it's the only treaty ever in the history of mankind that has been stuck to.
Because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Fight for so far. So.
But also it gets me like this where again the York Senate comes in. But so 12 countries sign a treaty to not invade land because there's nothing there. Right. So why would you then go, I want to sign that treaty as well?
Because.
Well, why there's not there? Oh, because if you do find something there, I'm in this treaty, so I get a cut or I get a say in it. So
it possibly could be.
So this going from 12 to 54, and again it's a cynic in it. 12 to 54 is people going, well, we're just going to put our flag here for a claim, yeah? We have a research station right on the coast here, because we find out we're part of this treaty, we signed it as well.
So let's just say they found a huge lithium mine, that's an example. Trillions and trillions and trillions of pounds worth of lithium.
Is it cobalt that we need to make?
For the cars.
The chipboards in iPhones and mobile.
Yeah, but there's also the fact that electric cars are now coming
Yeah.
to fruition that need lithium big time.
Mm-hmm.
Next, so let's just say that that's the next big thing. So anybody who's watching this, get some fucking money in lithium because the electric cars are the next big thing.
I mean, we have the poverty mining, isn't there, where we have in African nations.
Yeah, it's fucking
Of cobalt, it's horrific.
It's horrible.
But you know, we need cobalt. There's not that much of it on Earth, but we need it to make the chipboards for iPhones and Android phones and stuff. So we have where all our old electronics in the West get thrown out and end up in rubbish dumps in Africa, and African children are paid like 5p a day to go through rubbish dumps and pull out bits of cobalt and stuff so we can recycle it and reuse it. And cobalt mine, I think cobalt mine's the most dangerous job in the world at the moment, I think.
I think there's some fucking fishing thing in the North Atlantic or whatever, but yeah, I think it's pretty fucking dangerous.
So you imagine we find a cobalt mine or I say a lithium mine where we can make electric car batteries. What's will go to war over on that?
So what we're saying though is you can imagine it started 12, 54 went, I wouldn't have done that actually. Because I assumed that if something massive is found originally, like let's all share it.
What does it cost you to sign that treaty?
I don't know.
No, you're not giving it all away.
I assume nothing, yeah.
You're not giving it all away, you're not giving it away, and if no comes of it, then you've lost no. But if something is found on there, and your country 55 and 56 who haven't signed it, you don't get a claim, because you know those 54 just get the fucking claim now.
So 54 out of 5 trillion in a lithium mine, it's a fucking big deal for someone.
Yeah.
But I just want to also, before we close, because I think this is the last thing I want to talk about, is I have heard non-stop, constantly, that no one can go visit Antarctica. It's not true.
You can.
I can go to, I have no shares in this company whatsoever, but you can go to www.poseidonexpeditions.com, spend about $2,000, and you can go to boat through Antarctica. Now you can't get off and fucking hop around because
No, you go around the coast of it.
you're gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
You know, they're like going back recently.
I'm pretty sure I can fly a mile or two inland as well.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not, is that, oh well, you can't fly 3 or 10 miles inland. Yeah, do you know why? Because the fucking plane freezes up and crashes.
Man, it's 5 billion degrees or whatever it is.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, you can fly a mile or two inland because if you get into trouble, then you can kind of fucking glide your way, or your pilot's really fucking skilled that can get his way back.
Well, unless you find what Byrd found, you're fucked.
Yeah. But yeah, you can fly over on flights, you can sail around it, you can fly into it. It costs you a fucking lot of money, because, do you know what? There's flights to Spain and back every day. There's not a flight to Antarctica and back every day.
You actually have to go to Argentina.
Yeah.
And then fly there.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to put out there that...
And you don't get to pick your date either. You get told what date the flight's full and then you go.
So
if you don't take off that full plane.
But I just wanted to put out there that very, very quick search. You can go. You don't need a visa if you're part of the treaty.
If your country's part of the treaty,
yeah,
you don't
if
so
you're
like
part of the
where
54.
UK, we're part of the 54. If you're a resident of the 54 countries part of the treaty, you don't need a visa to go there. Which is,
through tour operators only.
Yeah. But you can sail around it. You can. You know what? Cost you $2,000. It's gonna be fucking awful. You're gonna be. I imagine you're gonna be in a boat with like a fucking shoebox room and. You're not sitting at the captain's table and eating lobster on your way out
It's
there.
not the fucking Titanic, I tell you.
You know what I mean? You're not going on some fucking P&O pleasure cruise or whatever. This is like, oh, you think camping will hard? Get fucking ready, kiddo. And there's no frills, no. It's like we've got a boat, we've got you there, we've got your back.
You're going to see a lot of snow and a couple of King Emperor penguins and then go. Is that it?
Yeah.
Time to go.
Right. But it took us 3 weeks to get out there by boat, and there were no casino, there were no nightclub, there were no entertainment. Yeah, do you know how much it costs to get this fucking boat out there?
So, I just wanted to say to people, you can book it, go book it. If you really want to debunk all this shit, go book a fucking ferry out there and enjoy yourself. Imagine, you'll be happy to know that is a mastermind, no?
So is it after your notes? So comes the final question. Hollow Earth.
Oh my god.
Does that believe? Closing statement.
Got my head in my hands because I can't believe any of you fuckers believe it. Right? No. Hollow Earth. Why are you laughing?
Can't believe you said about 4 hours into the video, you were restrained for so long. It took you that long to go. I just thought I'd get you beforehand. Like, the relief.
I have been waiting for this moment. Oh, I feel like I'm about 3 stone lighter. Listen, right. I'm pretty direct. I'm Yorkshire. I'm a Yorkshireman. Hollow Earth is about as believable as Santa Claus, right? At least Santa Claus knows anything.
Santa Claus is real, kids, so therefore Craig believes in all Earth.
Yeah. Kids, if you're watching,
you should be.
don't watch Daddy. No, ultimately, my response is quite simple. I think Hollow Earth is built upon the back of many fictional stories that have got absolutely no grounds in reality, no context whatsoever. Byrd, who is the only person of any legitimacy whatsoever who was an admiral in the Navy, who's gone out there. I personally I can't view his diary as valid, simply because we discussed already. There's no emotion in there. There's no. If someone's pouring the hat out in the diary, it seems more like a script.
Yeah, he's and I'm sorry, I don't want to put you in his statement, but yeah, Bird's diary seems to be either an account of a DMT trip or some political propaganda.
Or alternatively, it's a falsehood at the end. So, does that believe? My answer to you is, does that book?
I'm coming on the same side as you here. Hollow Earth is a wonderful story we topped on like the second part of the show. I know we started off with creation myths and stuff, and we went on to Jules Verne and how all these other books came out, and we ended up later on in the show looking at the map of Agrafar, where it's just
Agrafar, I love it.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care.
Can't pronounce it, it's brilliant.
It's how much weight I give to this theory, how much I care about. I can't be asked to pronounce it properly. That's how much weight I give to this theory. But yeah, that map that we showed on screen earlier was just, it's an amalgamation of theories to make it look real and proper. It's not a map that Admiral Byrd drew or anything like that. It's not a map we've been given by the Thule or the Z or whatever they're called. And yeah, it's a great fucking story. One of my favourite episodes of the recent Doctor Who reboot was a Matt Smith episode where there's a little town in Wales is drilling a bit deeper than they've ever done before for coal, and then people start getting killed, and it turns out that they've drilled into some incubation chamber, some hibernation chamber for Civilians, which are these reptile people that lived on Earth before humans, and they knew the meteorite would come in and the opening, so they went underground and went to hibernation chambers.
Alright.
And they're coming, we're going to claim the Earth now. Like, you interrupt Starfleet, we're coming back, we're claiming, oh, it's habitable, it's ours, it's supposed to be here first. And it's just great. It's a great episode where it's just like, you know, it's ours, we're taking it back, we're having it. It's kind of like, can we get that Native American European colonist feel that it belongs to us, we should have it back? No, we've been here longer than, yeah, you had it first, but we've been here longer than you have now, so it belongs to us. And in the end, they agree peace treaty, they go back underground for 10,000 years and first ready to accept an alien race. But yeah, getting on topic. But point is, that's a great episode that has like a look at ourselves as how we look at Indigenous people and stuff, and how we colonise. But it's the whole Earth area, and it's wonderful, and it's sci-fi, and that's what this is at the end of the day, just sci-fi.
I think today, in anything you've investigated, and I know you can close it out before we completely know that, I have not found, unless people on this channel can put in the comments below and link me to something, I have not found a single shred of scientific evidence that says to me that there's a hole in the North or South Poles. There's any evidence of any kind, photo, video, written evidence.
There's only one bit of evidence given tonight that make me think Hollow Earth could exist. And none of it was in the Hollow Earth theory arguments.
It was the Don Caves.
It was the Don Caves that you put forward. None of them appear in the Hollow Earth argument. There's a bit of evidence that says scientifically it can exist. But none of it exists in the Hollow Earth theories we put forward, the arguments we put. All throughout, we've gone through, 400 years of history of Hollow Earth? Well, more if you go back to creation theory and stuff, but none of it mentions those caves or how they are. So,
and those caves have no habitable animals or
yeah, it's just fauna.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it flora? Just flora.
Fauna.
Fauna, just fauna. Yeah. So
fauna and flora. Actually,
I thought flora was fauna.
Whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's just plants.
It's just plants. It's just flora. Yeah.
I'm fucking drinking. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I think flora and fauna. Flora is plants and fauna is animals. Anyway. My argument was the only bit of evidence being put forward tonight was the Don Caves, and they don't exist anywhere in the Hollow Earth theory. Correct. That tells me scientifically, is it possible? Yes. Do I believe all these stories we've been told and we discussed tonight? Fuck no. That does not believe.
So maybe he's the clone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're not going to fight?
We're not going to fight. We both agree. We both agree tonight. But do you agree with us? Let us know in the comments if you've got any other evidence you think we need to look at. If you just want to call us dickheads, it's alright, we believe in free speech, go for it.
I'm assuming this video is a fucking long one.
This is going to be a long one.
Thank you, but if you've managed to stay to the end and listen to me talking shite for this long,
yeah.
Thank you very much. We very much appreciate your viewership.
As always, we'll ask you to do the usual like, share, subscribe, but beyond that, tell 2 people. If you enjoyed what you watched tonight, just tell 2 people. That'll do more than like, share, subscribe, honestly, but just tell 2 people. Go to work tomorrow and tell someone I watched this really fucking fun video last night and should have listened to it.
2 Yorkshire guys talking shite for probably 3 hours now, right?
Probably 3 hours now, yeah.
Wait, 4.5 hours, and so after the cut, it'll be about 3
And we're going to
hours.
put this out in podcast form as well, so if you're listening, we keep talking about the video. We apologise, we film it in video form, we're going to put the audio out in podcast, so you can listen to it over like the next 6 days, while you're on your way to work and back, and then when you're finished, ready for the next one, because that's all.
And as a taster, next week is a fucking belter.
Next one is a good one. Next one we're going fucking dark.
We are going, not just balls deep, but fucking hip deep. Honestly, it's...
We were going, possibly the first time we're going to wade into tinfoil hat territory, maybe.
Yes. Yes. You bring your maple syrup, I'll bring my vodka.
I might bring a little bit of Nicolas Cage as well.
Do it.
But yes, thank you for tonight. Thank you for hanging around for so long. We love you. I'm not going to apologise for how long the video is because it's unscripted. This is exactly what we wanted this to be. Going off on a tangent like we have and discussing other things that we have done is just how you discuss with your friends in the pub. And at the time of recording this, we're not allowed pubs anymore. So raise a drink and thank you for joining us.
So does that believe the answer is no? See you next week. Have a fucking fantastic COVID lockdown bullshit, whatever the hell's going on. Look after yourselves. See you next week, and I promise next week is a good one. Take care, guys.
Take care. See you there.
See you there.